a dress on it, and she takes like the dress and she puts it over her face to wipe.
Oh, it's so good.
To wipe her face.
These children that you spit on as they try to change their worlds are immune to your consultations. They're quite aware of what they're going through. Quote by David Bowie. Hello everyone, it's me, Danny. And yes, that was a quote from David Bowie himself. And you're probably wondering why I said that quote. Well, I'll tell you. We are doing another Cinnamontography of our Brat Pack review, and that is the quote that is shown before the Breakfast Club starts. And so yeah, we're doing our Brat Pack review, and with me again is King.
Hey, 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 hey.
And joining us to talk about these two movies is my other co-host from Anime Summit is Sam.
Don't you forget about me. Don't.
We're gonna just do that. We're gonna sing the whole song for this podcast, and that's it.
That's
all there is.
The whole entire song, yeah, and that's it.
Time. Yeah, dude, it'll be, so let me just really quick say a few things. First of all, thank you for having me on.
Yes,
bitch.
Thank you.
Second of all, because this is like King and Danny's thing. They're doing this whole, it was a huge thing, and I was like, that's overwhelming. I'm good. You guys do it.
I'll just pop in with the ones that I want to watch.
How many movies? How many years do we have to recover?
King and I are just over here are like, yeah, let's do this. Like, let's grab like a bunch of movies and just do this review.
I'm like, yo, I got shit to do. But I want to talk about this one because I love it. But so, and then also, so this is like and I love them for it. They're making it happen. They've already done, they've already done one of them, right? So this is the second one. Right?
Yeah, so yeah. This is episode 2 for Brat Pack. Last time we started with Class and Repo Man.
Go check those episodes
so
out.
And just because it's getting some people might get confused. The way that our episodes and Cinnamontographies are numbered are just by how many we've done. There's no special number to them, right? So like this one that comes out, the one that we're recording right now, is EX29. It's also Cinnamontography number 10, and it's also Brat Pack number 2. So it's like, I just want everyone to be clear, like, that's how it works, right? The only thing that matters is that it's Brat Pack number 2, really. So otherwise, they're just numbered. Any other numbers you see, it's like how many we've done of that thing, how many we've done of the podcast, how many we've done of the EX, how many we've done of whatever. So that's why on the thumbnail, on the YouTubes, on the last one is like, Brat Pack Series 1, EX26, Cinnamontography 9. Re-edition.
Redux, Electric Boogaloo,
yeah.
The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of which, I'm really behind on YouTube, so I'll get that uploaded really soon.
Sweet.
But anyways, yeah, just wanted to clear that up for people. So this is Cinnamontography, actually. This is Cinnamontography number 10, Brat Pack number 2. Is what it is. So like next week we could do another movie that's not part of this, and it'll be Cinnamontography number 11. But it'll be like, yeah. So and then just in case that confuses anyone. But the reason I wanted to hop on is because The Breakfast Club is one of my favorite films.
Yeah.
Same.
So
let's go.
Yeah.
So but before we get into the links.animesummit.net is where you can find all our stuff. And also Patreon exclusive things. Don't forget to recommend us Anime Summit people a TV show or a movie to watch, because I'm gonna stick in all the shows and movies on a wheel generator, and we'll pick out which one we're gonna watch and review.
Ooh,
So
I recommended one,
go do
so
that.
I'm excited. I'm like, ooh, I hope they pick mine.
Yeah, and then also Sam's gonna tell us about this ad right here. Okay, there we go. All right, so now all that shit is out of the way. Let's get into this. Yeah, so as we were saying, we're doing 16 Candles and the Breakfast Club, and our Brat Pack series is actually in chronological order. So now we're done with 82 and 83. Now we're getting into 1984 and 85. King, do you want to lead in with 16 Candles, and then I'll do the Breakfast Club?
Yeah, absolutely. This movie came out in 1984. It is the directorial debut by Mr. John Hughes. You may have heard of his name, or
the legend himself.
That's right. I mean, this is the Brat Pack director. I mean, he's like the de facto leader of this whole operation. He's a famous writer, director, and producer. You might know some of his movies, including National Lampoon's Vacation, Mr. Mom, 16 Candles, Weird Science, The Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Pretty in Pink, Some Kind of Wonderful, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, She's Having a Baby, The Great Outdoors, Uncle Buck, Home Alone, Dutch, and Beethoven. Oh, also Dennis the Menace and Baby's Day Out. I mean, I know most of these movies on this list.
Yeah, same.
These are some...
All these movies he wrote. Some of them he directed. Some
Yes,
of them he
exactly.
Didn't, yeah, Home Alone.
Yeah,
he wrote.
so Pretty in
Yeah.
Pink he did not direct. He wrote it.
So I just listed off things that he's been associated with, even through producing credits. But this guy is, I mean, he's one of the most heavy hitter directors in the 20th century. I mean, and certainly the director of the 1980s. I mean, he's up there with people like James Cameron at the time, people like Martin Scorsese, all these like huge people, and a lot of his work deals with coming of age teenage stories, which we're going to get into and talk about how a lot of his work and writing really highlights the American teenage experience like was never seen before. And bringing it back to 16 Candles, this movie is starring Molly Ringwald, Michael Schoeffling, sorry, Michael, and Anthony Michael Hall. Specifically, our Brat Pack members that we like to highlight are Anthony Michael Hall and Molly Ringwald. And it's fun to note that this is one of their earliest movies starring. I think at the time that this is made, they're like super young, right? Like 14, 15, or 16.
Dude, it was really weird seeing John Cusack and Joan Cusack in the same movie and also just super young looking.
Yep. It also features John and Joe, which is our second movie in our Brat Pack review.
Yeah, they were both in class.
Yep. So it's fun to see them together, and it's just
it's so weird.
As these small bit parts too, when we know how big John Cusack would become, and same with Joan. I was just looking if anybody remembers. Joan Cusack is in the sequel to The Addams Family, and she plays the love interest that's like kind of vindictive towards Uncle Fester, and she's a smoke show. And I just wanted to highlight that has nothing to do with what we're talking about today.
Yo, best villain in The Addams Family.
Oh, for sure. And we'll say the plot real quick. 16 Candles is about a girl's sweet 16th birthday. Is anything but special. Her family forgets about it, and she suffers from every embarrassment possible. And I just found some fun facts about this before we get into our review. This is, we already mentioned it, this is the second film with John and Joan Cusack, the Cusack siblings. Here's a little fun fact. Our main handsome lead, Jake Ryan, played by Michael Schoeffling, the role was originally considered for Viggo Mortensen. Can you guys imagine Aragorn in this movie?
No. No,
It's crazy.
no.
That would be. It would be so. It would just be what a different movie this would be. Just because Jake Ryan, the lead, the handsome lead. I'm like, yeah, if that was Aragorn, I wouldn't be able to focus the whole time. I'd be like, why is Aragorn being a little sussy right now? I wonder if a good place to start too, before we dive on in, is just if you guys had ever seen this movie, what is your connection to this movie so far, Danny?
Oh, I mean, well, after I was introduced to the Breakfast Club, I kind of just fell into the rabbit hole of just watching all and any John Hughes films. So, and this was one of them.
Nice. So you have seen this one before?
Yeah, I mean, I own it. I own the DVD.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I own majority of John Hughes films.
Nice. That's what's up. What about you, Sam? Have you seen this one before? Were you familiar with it?
About the same as Danny. Like, so, I mean, we grew up. Me and my brother grew up with TVs in our room. Okay, that's probably
the coolest
we love
kids
TVs
in school.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was not a cool kid with
neither
a TV
was I.
in her room.
My parents wouldn't allow it.
Yeah, same.
We loved. That's why we love TV and movies so much, and so like, that's why we have a lot of knowledge of like older things, right? So like, obviously we weren't alive when these movies came out, or at least some of them. At least the two we're talking about. But Comedy Central or ABC Family, now it's called Freeform. Back then it was called Fox Family or ABC
I remember
Family,
those days.
but the channel is called Freeform now. They would play these movies. They play John Hughes movies, and then cut down. Obviously, they would cut out certain scenes, obviously, but which we'll get into later. But I watch these on TV all the time. Now, 16 Candles in particular, I only watch probably once or twice on TV. The rest of the films that are on these like lists, on this Brat Pack list, I've seen a lot of them on TV multiple times. 16 Candles, though, not so much. So I haven't seen this movie in, I don't know, 15 plus years, 10 plus years. So rewatching it yesterday, in preparation for today was something.
Yeah, we'll get into that something.
Now I remember why. Yeah, now I remember why I didn't want to rewatch this.
Yes,
as much as I did others. But yeah, dude. What about you, King? I know that you like all this nostalgic stuff too. So like, I think the three of us kind of thrive on all that stuff that we used to grow up watching, and things like that. So I'm kind of curious what your connection to the Brat Pack films are, or just specifically, I guess.
Totally. For 16 Candles, it's actually funny. I don't know if you guys remember. This is a shout out to long ago. VH1 used to have these shows that would look at look at decades in a review from a pop culture scene.
I love those shows.
Is this like like I Heart the 80s or something like that?
It was like that. Yeah,
I love
like,
the 80s.
Yeah, I love the 80s, and
And for the youngin, for the youths at home, we used to have a TV channel called VH1. I don't even know if it still exists or what it does nowadays.
Oh, it does.
That's awesome.
It does. I
That's
believe.
great.
Yeah.
I love it. I hope they still just give us more of this nostalgic stuff. They created a series called I Heart the 90s, 80s, 70s, and it would walk you through kind of a little bit of history, but more focused on pop culture. And I remember
what things ruled that decade.
The trends, the fashion, the movies, art, all this kind of stuff, music. And a big focus during the 80s series were these Brat Pack movies. So that's really my first introduction to all of this world, is just people, comedians, pop culture figures giving their opinions on all of this stuff. And I just have such a vivid, like, burned in memory in my brain of, and we'll get to it, the scene where Michael Anthony Hall holds up Molly Shannon's panty, or Molly, I keep calling her Molly Shannon, and it's Molly Ringwald, even though I love Molly Shannon. But
Yeah,
Michael
Martian
Anthony
is
Hall
hilarious.
holds Molly Ringwald's underwear in the boys' bathroom, and all the young boys are,
And they're like,
"Oh,
"Oh."
dude, that's so awesome!"
All the geeks and stuff. Yeah, they're like, "You're a
You're
legend,
a fucking legend, dude. And so that's just burned into my brain.
They parodied that scene a lot. In a
Oh,
lot of
100%. I think it's one of the most iconic.
Yep.
Not only just Brat Pack scenes, but like iconic film moments that came out of the 80s and just in general. So I'm viewing this. This is fun. This is the first time I've ever seen this movie. I've always
Nice.
kind of held off to just watch this for some special occasion. What better purpose, what better reason than what we're doing now? So I went in this completely blind. I started to get an idea of what I was going to get. I was like, there's going to be some shenanigans. There's going to be probably some weird tropes that I don't necessarily love or agree with. And boy, was it a lot worse than I thought. And guys, what we're talking about is Long Dong. And we're going to get to Long Duck Dong here in a minute.
Long Duck Dong. Yeah.
Oh, go
Dude.
ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say the thing about the I Love 80s or I Love Decade, whatever show. The best part about that was like, because it would just be like these interviews with like current stars, right? So like musicians, comedians, just icons in the current, the current zeitgeist or whatever. So like Anna Nicole Smith, Gottfried, and sometimes they would get like actual people from the things they're talking about on it as well and talk about it for a little bit. And I just remember in the I Love 80s one where it was Gottfried, and he's a black comedian. He's hilarious. And he was like, they were talking about Flock of Seagulls and the song I Ran and how it was like a one-hit wonder or whatever. And he was like, man, I love that song when I was a kid. And then he was like, you didn't know what the hell they were saying, but it was hot.
Yeah, it's hot stuff. Oh, man. And thank you for bringing up music, Sam, because that's one of the big aspects of these films in the Brat Pack universe is how much good music we get out of these films.
Thompson Twins.
Simple
Patti
Minds. Who else is there? Wang Chung, who I love. Oingo Boingo. Bananarama. I mean, just ridiculous names. Just the most ridiculous names in the 80s.
We do hear a David Bowie.
Young Americans, which is an awesome track.
Yeah.
My dad really loved Bowie growing up, so we listened to a lot of Bowie. So and coming into this, I knew we were going to get this. This is when the soundtrack for the Brat Pack films really start to pick up. John Hughes has said that music is really important to his movies.
Oh, it's so important.
And it's cool because in this film, the music supervisor director is this guy named Jimmy Iovine, and he's famous for starting Apple Music that we kind of know and listen to today. And he helped Dr. Dre bring beats into the modern world. Like, he's just this behind the scenes producer / record deal guy that has just been in the business forever. And if you like music, Jimmy has probably had his hand in it in some way because he deals with all forms of music, and like he helps people get record deals and on track and all this cool stuff. So I was like, oh, sweet, that's a cool name to see. And he just jammed a lot of good music in these films. So that's something worth noting. Just like last time, we're going to dive on in. We're going to walk you guys through the movie. We definitely recommend checking out the movie, maybe coming back, or just listen to our take on everything going on. So with that, let's dive on in.
Dive on in.
Dive on in. Say it.
Dive on in. Fucking love it, dude. Me and King, dude, just like, we're the only two people who laugh about that.
Shout out to Roger from American Dad. Dive on in.
Dive on in. Rogers, please. Oh. Okay, I just want to preface this really quick.
Put all the prefaces.
Before we do, wait, hold on. Can you just put a pin on that? I just want to mention.
You want to dive on in?
16 Candles was released on May 4th, 1984. It's a 93-minute movie. The budget for it was $6.5 million, and the box office made $23.6 million. Okay, go ahead, Sam.
Produced by Universal Pictures.
Yes.
Nice one. Written and directed by John Hughes. Produced by some other people.
Helen A. Green, Michelle Manning, and Ned Tannen.
Tannen, like Biff
Tannen.
from Back to the Future.
Yep.
No, I just want to preface this by saying this, okay? Okay.
Oh boy. Long dong. We're talking about
Long dong, okay?
Yeah,
So
let's just get it over with.
Yeah, let me just
and you might be saying, why does King keep saying long dong?
Here's the okay.
We can't even get through it.
Here's the thing, okay? We understand first and foremost, we understand that a lot of the stuff in this film is kind of offensive, okay? Pretty offensive, I'll say. That being said, on the other side of that, we do recognize it as a cult film, okay? So we all, of course, went in watching it knowing, maybe King didn't because he went in blind, but I remember avoiding this movie for a long time and why I didn't care to rewatch it again. And I suddenly remembered all the reasons. And I didn't remember if Long Duck Dong was in this film or Pretty in Pink. I couldn't remember. I always mix them up. And then I remembered it was this one. And so me and Trisha kind of made a night of it. So yesterday we were talking, we were cooking. I was grilling sausages. And, or Friday, I was grilling sausages. I wanted to grill. I got Lao sausages from the Asian store. And I was like, hey, babe, I have to watch this movie for this thing that I'm recording with King and Dingus. So do you want to watch it with me? And she was like, oh, what are we watching? I said 16 Candles. And she's like, oh, yeah, hell yeah, Long Duck Dong, dude. I'm like, oh, God. That's Long Duck Dong. And so I was like, so here's the thing, okay? I want to preface this the way that Disney Plus prefaces things. Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, all those streaming platforms now, and HBO Max even, they put like a little disclaimer at the beginning of when you watch an old cartoon or old animated movie, they put a little disclaimer saying like, while we recognize fully that these things are offensive and have stereotypes that can be deemed offensive and words that can be deemed offensive, but we didn't want to like take it off our platform because we want you still to enjoy it. We just want you to know that it is offensive and it wasn't okay back then. It's not okay now, that kind of thing. So I do recognize that. I absolutely do. Okay, I'm an Asian person. That kind of stereotype is super harmful, Long Duck Dong. But I want to just say this. I want to say this about Long Duck Dong, and then you guys can say whatever you need to do about Long Duck Dong. But so the premise, we already told you the premise, right? So it's the day before Molly Ringwald, her name is Samantha. Her older sister is getting married literally the next day, the day after her birthday. Number one, if me and Dannie were siblings and her birthday landed on whatever date, I would not be putting my wedding after her. So that's first of all, that's bullshit. Second of all, so that means all of her grandparents and shit, both her grandparents are coming in and staying with them. They take over her room and she has to bunk on the couch and all this stuff. One set of her grandparents brings a Chinese foreign exchange student with them, and his name is Long Duck Dong. And for me, the character himself wasn't offensive because he's a Chinese guy. Okay, he's got English with a Chinese accent. That's what a Chinese person who speaks English sounds like. Okay, now did he do the accent a little kind of stereotypical, like kind of bad, like Asian caricature? He might have a little bit, yeah. Still, though, it was not the character for me that was offensive. It was the fact that, like, the little brother is meant to be written as, like, a huge jerk, and he kept calling him a Chinaman.
That was so bad.
So bad.
It was cringe. It was cringe. And it was just so casual, right? That part was a little offensive to me. And the fact that they kept having to hit a gong.
Oh, the
Right.
gong.
Like, they put a gong sound effect. And then they kept putting the little
Chopsticks.
every time like they mentioned him.
No.
If you had not done any of that, it would have just been an Asian guy having the time of his life. That's all it would have been. Because that's why his character is amazing, right? Because he's this Chinese guy in a new land. He doesn't know what to do. Then he goes to the dance and to a party with Samantha brings him to a party and everything. And the school dance and a party. And he's like, you know what? These are what American kids do. I want to do it too. And he goes nuts and he has fun. He hangs out with a new girl and they have a good time. He gets drunk, he gets wasted, and he gets in a fight, which you don't see. But like, it's amazing. It's fun. He's having the time of his life. He doesn't need anyone to help assimilate him, quote unquote. He's doing it by himself and he's having a good time. He's doing what the other kids are doing. That's a great character. And then but they have to add all these other offensive things like gong sound effects and Asian sounding music every time he comes on screen, or have the other characters be fucking casually or straight up racist.
Very much so.
And okay, and the one thing, him eating with the knife
The
and
silverware,
the silverware is
chopsticks.
chopsticks.
That's terrible.
Like, come on, dude. You didn't need to do that. That being said, I think he's a great character. It was literally just everything else that they wrote him with that was, you didn't need that. If I were to like do a read edit of the film, like they gave me the audio track and they gave me the edited version of the film, I would take all that stuff out and replace it with other music or just not have it in there at all. That's literally it. Otherwise, he's exactly what he's supposed to be. He's a Chinese kid who's a foreign exchange student, wants to experience American life as a teenager, and he does and has a great time. You know what I mean?
I just looked up some articles on the actor who played Long Duk Dong. His name is Gadid Watanabe, or Gary Watanabe. I mean, he was born in America. Like, he's from Utah.
Yeah. He's Japanese. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And this article that I found, it goes into, him diving into the movie from like 30 years ago. Like, it's been 30 years. This article came out in 2014. So, and the interviewer asked, do you remember auditioning for 16 Candles? And he said, yeah, I was in New York, and my agent gave me the script and said that the character of Long Duk Dong was a foreign exchange student from Asia. But that was about it. To set myself apart, I asked a friend of mine who had a thick Korean accent if I could hang out with him and learn. I then went to the audition in the character using my friend's accent, which wasn't a very smart idea because I was basically lying and would have to tell them at some point that I only spoke English and I'm from Ogden, Utah. The casting director, Jackie Birch, was talking to me like I was from another country. I finally had to admit I was lying. She wanted me for the role and said, "Don't tell John." So we kept it a secret until the table read in Chicago when I took him aside and said, "John, I have something to I have to tell you something." And he said, "Where's your accent?" And I was just so nervous telling him that I was afraid that I'd get fired and aware of my own embarrassment that I'd told a huge lie. But John just had a big chuckle and as if to say, "Boy, I was duped." So yeah, I mean, I haven't read all of it, but like
that's pretty funny.
Yeah, like on Wiki, a review for New York Times criticized the character for being unfunny and potentially offensive stereotype of Asian culture, Asian people. 2008, Allison McAdam of NPR wrote, "To some viewers, he represents one of the most offensive Asian stereotypes in Hollywood ever gave America. Asian Americans have complained that they were taunted with quotes of his still English lines. At the time of the movie's release, Watanabe defended the character of Dong as being distinct from submissive and smart stereotypes of Asians at the time. Hughes argued that he was portraying foreign exchange students and from their American host families in general, rather than foreigners or Asians specifically, whatever that means.
Yeah, what he's saying is he was trying to write how weird the relationship between the grandparents and Long was, because it was weird. It was like these grandparents, they have no idea what they're fucking doing.
Yeah.
If they decided to just
They're
fucking
old
do
people
it.
trying to raise another
And-
kid.
Right. And again, I don't speak for all Asians. I'm only speaking for me, okay,
Yep.
who's half, and who grew up with watching these stereotypes on TV all the time, because the three of us, we grew up in a time where that happened a lot. Yeah, I got made fun of the same way. When you look at me, you can't tell I'm Asian.
Right.
It's only when I told them that they decided to be like, oh, vaso,
Right.
whatever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And they would never, I don't know, they would never quote these movies to me. They would always just like make up some language or do the whole like ting tong ling long thing. And again, not speaking for other Asians, to me, he was not offensive. It literally was everything else. The character himself wasn't the super smart Asian nerdy stereotype. He wasn't the, I'm very good at piano and math and whatever bull stereotype. He didn't like, his accent wasn't so thick to the point where it was like you could really make fun of it.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
The only part that people quote is the sexy girlfriend thing because that was funny.
Yeah,
like-
or the what's happening hot stuff.
Oh, that's another one.
Yeah, right. Like he's trying to like be cool and like get with the girl and stuff. He's partying with he's doing what the other kids are doing.
Yeah.
So like he's not, in my opinion, I agree with Getty Watanabe there, is like he's not the typical Asian stereotype like the one in Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Or in other films like that, okay? I actually grew up with Chinese friends Chinese American friends whose parents made them do all that shit, made them join the math club, take violin and piano and all this other stuff. Why aren't you a doctor yet? And he's like, no, dude, Dad, I'm only 15. I don't care. You should be a doctor because my friend's son born a doctor. Like, no, dude, like those. Okay, I grew up with those people. Okay, they were normal kids.
Yeah.
Okay, they were normal kids born in America. And this Long Duck Dong, weird name, was not one of those stereotypes. In fact, he was the opposite. He was partying. He was
He's
getting
the man.
laid. He was having
fucks.
fun.
He
He's the
fucks.
man. Yeah, he fucks hard, dude. It was literally just everything else that they wrote around him.
Ooh, here's
Like
another
so.
thing. I was scrolling through this article again. The interviewer said, "You've heard 1,000 times that Long Duck Dong is an offensive stereotype of an young Asian man who just arrived in this country, I'm sure." Watanabe said, "Yes, and all I'll say about that is that because there weren't enough Asians on screen, comedy was kind of looked down upon. I was not in the film business. I was studying theater in New York. It was my first film, and I had no idea what I was stepping into. I know that periphery is loosening, but because there were so few Asian actors on screen at that time, people were looking for Kuranosuke in a comedy, and 16 Candles wasn't that kind of movie."
Yeah. And that's what I wanted to say next, right? Is, again, like I said earlier, we recognize that this is a movie that's a product of its time. And back then, there weren't a lot of Asians on screen. And so they wanted to fucking get in there, okay? And, I mean, in my opinion, there's other way more offensive Asian stereotypes.
Oh yeah,
in previous films.
Fucking look at Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Mickey Rooney.
Yeah.
Like-
he was a white guy
yeah,
doing it.
yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
That's really bad.
yeah.
That that was really
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
Like,
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
and so like going forward, I feel like John Hughes wrote a different Chinese immigrant, or in this case a foreign exchange student. He wrote a different character, and it was better. So like, I'm not personally offended by Long Duck Dong. I'm offended at the production around him.
Right.
I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So I think people need to treat things with nuance. You need to look at every little thing. You need to look at, Getty Watanabe. He's trying to get in there.
He's a kid at the time too. Remember that. He's just a kid trying to get a break.
And now look what he got to do. He got to be Ling in Mulan.
Yeah, that's right. That was one of his other big
Yes.
roles, which is really interesting.
He got to be in Forgetting Sarah Marshall as a small role. He got to be he was in 47 Ronin, dude. So like, and he's got so much TV, like he's got so much TV cred, much TV cred. So like, and I don't know. Again, I don't think the character was personally offensive. It was everything else.
He's definitely been on a lot more TV productions than movies, but I mean, he was great as Lin, and I absolutely love him for that. Like, so yeah.
He also played he also voiced Ling in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Oh, nice.
Level.
Mm-hmm.
Also.
Oh,
yeah. So I mean, sorry, but video game voice roles, I mean, those can pay pretty nice. Now, I'm not saying voice actors get paid a shit ton, because they don't. But like video game roles, once you break into video game voice roles, man, it opens up so many new doors. Like, you could do so much. So, I mean, that's just me. As the resident Asian, that's my take. You don't like it? That's okay. That's fine. I understand. That being said, I do eat rice every day. Okay, moving on.
Good. No, this was an important discussion to have too, considering some of the stuff in the film. The only other thing I'll add before we get into it is choices of words might make certain people uncomfortable. I'm talking about they use the hard R word, they use the bad F word, and it ain't fuck. Let me just say that. I had to explain. I think my wife was like, "Oh no, like oh, they used fuck," and I was like, "Sweetie, it's not that word."
Yeah.
They did,
but not that one. So if it's a product of the period, and the actors and the cast feel differently now, with a modern take on everything. So we've given you plenty of heads up and warning before you watch this movie now. We're going to dive right in, because this film opens up in a Chicago suburb, which is a lot of John Hughes films kind of take place in this idea of this perfect society of middle and upper middle class area of the suburbs of Chicago. We pan into a family home that is waking up the morning before one of the daughter's weddings, and it is also the morning of Molly Ringwald's character Sam, who we'll just call her Sam from now on. It's her birthday. It's a crazy, bustling house with lots of people. This is always funny seeing houses, and I think this happened in Home Alone. It's like a mom and a dad who have 4, 5, 6 kids, and they have this giant house with all these bedrooms and living room and probably a sitting room, and then they have one fucking bathroom for this entire family.
Yeah.
So everybody's fighting.
Freaking two-story house and only one fucking bathroom. It's like, what?
So everybody shares
How?
it. Everybody has to get showered before school, brush their teeth before work, all of these things. So they're all fighting. And that's when we get to introduce to the little wisecrack brother, who is actually just a turd, as Sam pointed out, because he's
oh god, I freaking hate the
he's
little
such
brother.
a bastard.
Like, honestly,
he's a douchebag.
I wanted to fucking smack him anytime he like opened his mouth. I'm just all like, wow, really?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And after all this commotion, we get to meet Sam, our main character, and she's talking on the phone with one of her best friends. And she's commenting on how it's her 16th birthday, but she doesn't feel any different. I think it's this idea that, when you're 16, that's when you start to become an adult or a young woman or young man. And she makes the comment. She's like, I don't feel any different. I don't look any different. I think she talks about
My boobs
yeah,
aren't
her
big,
body
like...
isn't. She's like, I thought I would be more womanly shaped and all of these things. And I thought that was a great comment of like, oh, I still look like a little kid. And I'm like, yeah, that's because yesterday you were 15 and 364 days you're old. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's a little bit different than that. Then she comes out of her bedroom. She's expecting to be greeted by her family with, oh, happy birthdays, or here's some presents, or whatever it might be. And to her dismay, she's completely ignored. Her family is like, let's go. You got to get ready for school. You got to get on the bus. Let's move. Because they're all in a panic because, as we mentioned before, Sam's older sister is getting married the next day. Very rude to put it on that day. And her family has completely forgot, which brings up the tagline, they fucking forgot my birthday.
Yeah, I love it. I wrote in my notes, like, I can't believe this. They fucking forgot my birthday. I'm like, what a way to start a movie.
And then intro, slap bass, because that's when all the music starts. It's just like, boom, 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 boom. And immediately we get a bunch of different shots of kids at school. In 80s fashion. You're seeing lots of mullets, lots of acid wash over puffy sized jean jackets, big scrunchies, just a nostalgic feel for the 80s that I feel like is a style that always is coming in and out. And one of the big takeaways of all these films, we see Sam sitting in class. Somebody has passed her a note that I can remember stuff like this, like, hey, what is your, relationship status? Are you open to relationships? Do you have a crush? Are you open to sex or whatever? And she starts to fill all this stuff in. And it's it's definitely one of the most brutal scenes in a movie because she's going to hand it to her best friend that's right behind her in class. And she fills it all out.
She does it so subtly too. Like she stretches out, like, she does like a big stretch. She brings her arms out and she like throws the note behind her.
And she wrote,
but little does she know her friend is sleeping, and Michael's character Jake, who is her crush and a senior, like noticed that she drops the note and he takes it, he grabs it.
Yes, and she had written down that her crush is Jake Ryan, the school hunk. Once again, he's a senior, she is a sophomore, so it's a little taboo. So it's her admitting like, oh, I want to be with Jake, and he's the one that picks up the note, and you're like no.
Yeah. It's like, no, he's gonna find out.
And one thing that happens directly after this scene that I want to talk about too is I feel bad for Sam throughout this whole movie because not only does she doesn't have a very supportive family. Obviously, they forget her birthday. She's the second daughter, so she's second fiddle to the main. Her older sister is beautiful.
In the middle.
She's popular, classic tropes. But her best friend is also not supportive and not nice to her in that when she finds out, she's like, you wrote Jake's name down? She's like, you don't have a chance, dude. Jake, he's way out of your league. You're a loser. You've got nobody. And it's like, damn, girl, this is supposed to be your best friend.
Jake is only into the types that's not you.
Oh, yeah, and
it's like, dude, thanks.
I think she even says, and I wrote down this quote. She's like talking, like her and Sam are talking about Sam and her body, and it's just like, it's just a void. It's just there's nothing there to you when it comes to Jake, and it's like, ouch, that is brutal. We see cut to Jake talking to one of his high school buddies, which I don't know if you guys noticed. His high school buddy, when they're in gym class, he's like 40 years old.
Yeah, that's Tony Longo.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Okay, that's what's.
It's Tony Longo from Family Matters.
Yeah. It's so funny.
That's
it's just
crazy.
like we're a little bit better. Like we still cast 20-year-olds as teenagers in high school a lot of time in film and TV today. But at this time, they were like, hey, you're 40, but we'll make you a high school senior. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And so it's so jarring to see something like that. And Jake is talking to his friend Tony Longo, his adult friend in gym class, and just bringing up like, hey, do you know Sam? She's the sophomore. What do you think of her?
Yeah. And he like dismisses her as like immature and like she has like itty bitties, whereas like and then like he starts talking about like Jake's current girlfriend
Caroline.
and like pretty much prom queen Caroline and 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 saying that Caroline is way better, she has a figure and like she's more mature, blah blah blah. And that's when like we jump to the scene of like the shower and like you hear like that sound effect of like the boing
yeah.
and it's like boom, Caroline's boobs. And
that's a perfect set. Cut to boobs. They're awesome. She's stacked. And Sam and the shitty best friend is what we'll call her from now on, are just staring at Caroline's body from the distance, being like, damn, she's stacked and we look like little kids standing next to her. Classic compare yourself to the hottest girl in school. We'll learn more about Caroline a little bit later. Cut to the bus ride, which was probably one of my favorite scenes into the entire movie.
God.
If you guys don't want to watch this movie, just type in Sweet 16 bus ride scene. It is full of... Okay, I rode the bus to school when I was growing up. 16 Candles.
16
my
Candles.
bad. This bus is full of the dorkiest, freakiest looking like caricatures of kids I've ever seen. Like, there's not a normal kid on this bus besides Sam and the best friend. I died laughing. There's band geek.
I mean, they even said it. They're all like, the best friend was all like, I hope you get a car for your birthday so that we don't have to like deal with driving on this fucking bus.
It's like they stuck all the weirdest kids on the planet into this bus. There's two kids that are wearing jock straps.
Oh my God, I wrote this too.
Exactly.
Yeah, jock straps. I'm like,
on their
why?
faces.
Why do they have those on their heads? I don't understand.
It was so jarring and weird. And that's when we finally get to meet as the bus starts to drop people off. We are introduced to Michael Anthony Hall's character, who we will refer to as Farmer Ted. His name is Ted Farmer, and everybody just calls him Farmer Ted. He smoothly just rolls up to Sam, puts his arm around her, and starts talking her up, just hitting on her blatantly, saying all this, kind of bullshit, trying to be smooth. He's a freshman, so he looks like a little kid, braces, the works, and everything. But one thing I noticed, I was just like, this kid is they call him the Geek in the film. That's one of his nicknames, as well as Farmer Ted.
Yeah, the Geek / Farmer Ted. Yeah.
I was kind of, I'm sure we were maybe all were at a point where we were a little self-conscious about ourselves, or I'm still self-conscious to this day about myself, or feeling a little dorky or nerdy. Not this kid. This kid fucks. Whether he does or doesn't, he has the confidence of like the high school football captain. I mean, just like, he's just so full of himself. I'm like, good for you, Farmer Ted.
So Farmer Ted, okay, so here's what I get out of Farmer Ted's character. He's young, he's a freshman in high school. I bet you in his like, when he was in elementary school or middle school for that matter, he was picked on and like he was known for like being the dweeb. So now that he's in high school, he's all like, yeah, I'm in high school. I'm a grown up now. I'm going to like get all the chicks. This is my chance to like prove myself and like start a new chapter in my life. Like, I'm going to be one of the like cool kids kind of thing. So like he's definitely the dweeby character, but like he also tries to be like a smooth player all at the same time. But like I feel like he's just trying way too
100%.
hard.
And you know what I'll say? Trying is half the battle, guys. So maybe don't go full force in like Farmer Ted, but get that courage. Go say hello. Introduce yourself. But yeah, don't be gross and weird, because that's what Farmer Ted is. The only other thing worth noting on the end of the school bus ride is we are introduced to the greatest slapstick character of the film, Joan Cusack. I don't even think she gets named in the film, but all you need to know is she has a back brace the whole time.
Yeah, Joan's character is just
Geek girl. I like that.
That's
and
it.
her
Yeah.
the whole bit about her is that she has a back brace that they don't really put kids into anymore. For probably they figured out a better way to do this to straighten out your spine. And she's seen throughout the movie falling over, trying to drink from the water fountain and making a mess. Like, this back brace just ruins her social life, and it's so mean to laugh at her. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Cut to.
I think my favorite
Okay.
bit is when she's going to the water fountain to drink
Yes.
some water. And the first fountain that she goes to is the water pressure isn't enough for her
To reach.
to get a
Yes.
drink. So she's literally trying to lick this freaking water, and then she goes to the smaller one, and that the water pressure for that just literally spits at her
Yeah.
face, and of course she gets a drink of water, but now her whole face is just wet and drenched, and she has this sweater on, and the sweater has this girl with
A dress
um,
on.
a dress on it, and she takes the dress and she puts it over her face to
Oh, it's so good.
wipe her face. I was just like, oh my god.
Yeah, the dress part is it's like an embroidered sweatshirt.
Yeah.
And the dress part is like an extra piece of
So it
Fabric?
lifts up and the
Yeah,
lady's
she
like
just
naked
takes-
underneath.
Yeah, she just takes that and just wipes her face. Oh god.
But
So
it's also a
fucking
good
funny.
look
Oh,
of
man.
I feel bad for our parents that they lived in the time where back braces and headgear for your dental braces
Oh,
were
for
really I
braces.
had headgear, but I
Yeah.
only had to wear it at night because it's you're just committing social suicide if you're wearing a fucking head brace. It's just so mean. I feel so bad for those kids back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, cut two. We're now back at Sam's house. Multiple grandma and grandpas are now visiting, getting ready for the wedding. Of course, both sets of
God.
grandma and grandpa have completely forgotten Sam's birthday, which just adds insult to injury. One of the grandmas has the famous line as they're looking at Sam: "Fred, she's gotten her boobies."
Oh gosh, and she feels her
Yeah,
up.
and they're just kind of ogling her in a weird way. Just you don't, as your body's changing, you don't want your senior grandparents to be like, "Oh, look, you're becoming a man or a woman." You're like, "Ugh, stop! This is so bad." And that is when we are introduced to the infamous character Long Duck Dong. Once again, that's Long Duck Dong. And we are introduced with the gong sound, as Sam has mentioned earlier, which is as soon as the entrance with the gong, I was like, no, this is not gonna be good. And
without his middle name. It's just Long
and
Dong.
that's one of the best parts that's gonna come up soon. What's your last name? Dong. What's your first name? Long.
Long.
yeah.
And we get the gong throughout the movie, which is just casual racism is just real in this movie. Cut to Sam is in the bedroom with her sister that is getting married and dressed. We kind of get to know Sam's sister a little bit more. We find out she is just not a very nice person.
Dude, her sister's a fucking
I did write that
bitch.
down. Thank you for saying that. A total bitch.
She is a bitch. Yeah, she is a total bitch. Yeah, you're getting married, but your younger sister is coming to you with a problem that she has.
Yeah.
Don't fucking flat out say, you're being really conceited because, tomorrow I'm getting married.
Exactly.
This is supposed to be my
Absolutely.
time. And
Total bridezilla.
get the fuck out of
it's
here.
brutal. Yeah,
ugh.
Sam tries to go to her to say hey, I like this boy. I think I'm in love, but I don't really know how to deal with these feelings. Things that you could hopefully go to your older sibling to. And the older sister completely shuts her down. And it's still her birthday. Remember, all this is happening on her birthday. And they have a family dinner where Sam asks, can she be excused because she's pissed at everybody. She wants to go to the school dance that is happening that night. And that's when Grandma and Grandpa suggest that Sam takes along Long Duck Dong to the dance. Cut to school dance. Great 80s music throughout the whole dance. I just wanted to note that. I think we got bits of Wang Chung in there. who I definitely suggest go check them out. They have that hit song, "Everybody Wang Chung Tonight. Everybody have fun tonight." Yeah, there we go.
Fun
Exactly.
tonight.
So, classic 80s.
Everybody.
And man,
wing
all these
chun.
80s dances that we see in these movies, they look so cool. And like, I just wish when I was going to school dances, they looked this good or had this good of music. We come to see the intro of John Cusack in the film as one of Farmer Ted's buddies. That is kind of a dweeby guy. We meet his inner circle of friends of all freshmen who are considered nerds, dorks, geeks, whatever. And they're just scoping out babes at the school dance. Classic. We really get to see Farmer Ted. He is just not a cute kid. He is just so
Oh,
awkward
what are you
looking.
talking about? Don't do Ted that dirty.
Well, once
Like,
again, he's got the confidence.
he was young.
He
was
is a
young.
child at this time, and he has the guts to walk up to Sam and start dancing with her, making passes again, and the courage to just dance by yourself at a school dance. Wow, talk about chutzpah. We cut to Long Duck Dong is dancing with a very tall girl from the school. We find out that I think she's on like the track and field team or the basketball team or something. She's a sports star.
So I want to say that character, like the first time I watched this movie and she was introduced, I did not assume that she was a high school student. I always thought she was like the gym
She looks so
teacher.
much older than everybody else.
Yeah, she looks so much older. And I was just like this woman is there's no way that she is a teenager. Absolutely not. Like,
Yeah, it's funny.
so
The how they cast kids is so funny.
Yeah.
It's like they'll get real 15-year-olds and then they'll get 40-year-olds like our man from before. I had to write in my notes, Long Duck Dong is dancing with a chick. And then in underneath, he's the man. And this is when we get to see Long Duck is just coming into his own. He's having courage to talk to women. He's going to be with this young lady for the rest of the movie, kind of hanging out, party, and have a good time. So good for him. And this is when we start to see Jake Ryan starts to see some interest.
Yeah, this is kind of where like mainly most of the movie is going to take place, and it's going to be taking place at Jake's home and at this party and everything.
Oh,
like
100%. And he's starting
yeah.
to see Sam in a different light. They're giving each other looks and glances, you're like, ooh, there's something.
Yeah.
There's a little seed there.
Yeah, and that's kind of when like Jake went up to Ted and was all like, hey, you know that girl? And like Ted was all like, hey man, like I didn't know she was your girlfriend. Like he was trying to like not get hit or anything like that. And then Jake's was all like, no, like, what's her deal kind of thing and all that.
And Ted we get a better view of Ted. He Sam is a little bit upset that Jake is still with Caroline because they're dating at the time at the dance. So she runs out, is upset. She runs to, I think it looks like the auto shop class, which I never had that kind of thing in high school. So it was jarring to see a car in a classroom setting. Yeah. And she's crying and upset. It's her birthday. Nobody's remembered. The boy she likes is with somebody else. Enter Farmer Ted to kind of start talking.
No, it's your birthday.
Yeah. He's. This is actually.
It's my birthday
This
too.
is a little bit of an endearing scene, for somewhat, and then it goes weird. Ted kind of comforts Sam and says, "Hey, what's going on?" She tells her, and he expresses, he's like, "Well, I think you're a really special person, and I think you deserve a lot better." And she's like, "Wow, man, thank you. Like that makes me feel better." Of course, Farmer Ted, being an idiot, takes that for, okay, she's ready to make out and do stuff. And he like climbs on top of her awkwardly and I wrote down, ew, he's climbing on her like a spider monkey.
Like, what was he trying to do there? Like, what
Yeah,
was he trying
the
to,
way
like...
he climbs on her, I'm like, that's not how you make out with chicks or anything.
Yeah, not only that, like, you at that point, you know that it's all like, okay, this kid has never been with a girl ever.
To the point
like,
where
there's no
Yeah, he even says, famous line, I've never bagged a babe. And I had to laugh at that. I was like, thank you, Ted, for putting it so eloquently. Never bagged a babe. I should have mentioned before any of this scene is happening, Ted had talked with his geek buddies.
His buddies, like, they're all like, so, you know, we need proof that you're gonna get laid. And they're all like, he's all like, okay, that's sure, no problem. And they're like, no, like, we need you to get the girl's panties.
Yeah, we need some underwear as physical proof.
Yeah.
So cut back to Ted is comforting Sam. They're having a nice talk. Ted's being weird and creepy like the spider monkey. He proclaims himself. He's like, I'm sorry, Sam. I'm just the king of the dipshits. And I wrote, I feel that. I feel like we've all been there. We're like, man, I feel like the king of the dipshits right now. But Ted does give comforting words to Sam and says to go for it when it comes to Jake. He seems like a good dude. So Ted is starting to win us over a little bit as an audience. Like, hey, you should go for it. She's like, you know what? I think I will. And Ted interjects and says, wait a minute. Before you leave, can I borrow your underpants for 10 minutes?
Yeah.
And of course, that will lead to the scene in the bathroom, which we'll talk about in a minute. Danny, you had mentioned this. As the dance starts to wind down, Jake's current girlfriend, Caroline, says that she wants to leave with Jake and head over to his parents' house to have a little bit of a party. He doesn't seem that into it. I think he's starting to have a change of heart. And then we cut to the boys' bathroom. We see a little ass kid as a freshman knocking on the boys' bathroom door. He is let in by one of the older nerdy boys for $1. So it's like, oh, it's a paid show.
What grade are you in?
Oh, freshman. He goes, all right, give me $1.
Freshman. Okay.
And that's, of course,
like it's a fucking event.
They're
like
charging people to see
admission.
inevitably what is a young girl's underpants. We see Ted come out one of the bathroom stalls and holds up the underpants in the iconic scene, and all the boys once again are like, "Oh!"
Ooh.
It's so funny and great to see that. It's just iconic scene. Then we see. Oh, I had to write this down. There's a party going on at Jake's, and that's when Long Duck Dong changes his name to the Donger, because he's going out, he's partying, he's got a date. He gives he's given Sam I think a ride home.
Yeah. He gives her a ride home because Sam didn't want to go to the party or anything.
Yeah, so
like
she's
that.
going
so
home.
she
just went home. And before we cut to Jake's party, this was I don't know what you guys thought about this scene. The older sister plotline that we mentioned with the wedding, it gets this weird attention that never seems to fit in the movie. We get this scene where it's the parents of Sam and the older sister.
Oh, they go into
the dinner with
a dinner to meet the in-laws.
The rice checks.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I think it was supposed to show that, like, even though it seemed like her older sister's getting all this attention, it doesn't matter because the person that she's marrying is this complete douche canoe, and so is her parents or whatever. But it still was like, it was just so weird. It was not. Yeah, it kind of goes with my opinion about how this movie was crafted, which we'll talk about after. But
yeah, it feels out of place.
I wrote in my notes. Wrote in my notes. Meeting the in-laws, you can tell that this is going to lead to a divorce.
Total goober. The guy sucks. He's gross. Cut to party at Jake's. More Joan Cusack, just dancing and being weird and just having a back brace. Love that. Long Duck.
She's drinking a beer and she's like literally trying to drink this thing, and the more she leans forward, she just ends up falling.
Yeah,
backwards.
she can't drink a beer because of her back brace. Love that gag. We should have had more of that. We see the arrival of the donger, and he runs into someone's car, and that bad trope. Don't like that. But the best part of that scene was he hits someone's car, and it's two teenagers having sex in the back of the car.
Yeah, they're having
and
sex.
they don't stop.
Yeah,
They're just
yeah.
you can just hear the girl be like, "Oh, Anthony," and so they're just gonna continue having sex after being hit by Long Duck. We see Farmer Ted, John Cusack, and another freshman arrive at the party. Of course, freshmen aren't allowed at this party because it's for seniors only. So they're embarrassing themselves and look like complete losers. At this time, we notice that Jake is kind of getting sick of this party. He's getting tired of Caroline. He realizes he's like, man, I don't want to be hanging out with all these people who are getting wasted and ruining my parents' house and all this. So he tries to call Sam.
I was gonna say, do they trash these house?
Yeah.
I don't. And did you guys? And this is a side note, but I remember going to one party in high school, where luckily I didn't host it, and I didn't do anything, but I saw people like destroy this person's house. Like one kid took a bottle of ranch from the fridge and just started spraying the ceiling with ranch dressing.
Oh my god.
And I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. So I've only ever been to one party like that, but high school kids are dickheads. And if you're a high school kid listening to this, go to a high school party. Don't throw one at your parents' house. Kids will destroy your parents' house. So Jake,
dude, okay, like in the few, okay, just real quick, the few house parties I did go to when I was a kid, I didn't go to much. But the few, because normally when I drank in high school, it was only like
same. That's how we usually did it.
But when I did go to a party like that, everyone was so like courteous to like pick up after themselves.
Oh, good.
Like, we never did that. So like, whenever I see these movies and they just completely like put a pizza on the record player, like on the certain table, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, we would have never have done it, dude. Anything that would get us caught or in trouble, we would have never done.
So smart.
Yeah.
So
a lot of my high school parties were like in garage, like in someone's
That's
garage
classic,
or like outside, really. You know, like I think honestly the only party that I have gone, like house party that I have gone to, was in my 20s, and the retail store that I worked at, like a lot of us who worked together at this store, we were all of drinking age. So every so often somebody at work would host a party at their house, but a lot of us never, like, we were old enough to know, like, let's not trash someone's fucking house.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we were way more mature to not like trash someone's house.
And here's a good tip for young people.
Right.
Sam, you just said it. If you don't trash the house, for the young people, or if you're a high schooler, if you don't trash the house and you get away with the party, that just means you get to have another party in the future. So if you trash someone's house, if you do it the one time you trash someone's house, you never get to have a party at that house again. So you're shit out of luck, and then you gotta go do something stupid in public. So remember, kids, party responsibly, no drinking and driving, and clean up after yourself so you can go back to the party next time. All right.
I also want to say that Caroline,
and not that we're telling you to drink underage, but
yeah.
do it anyway, so
right?
just do it safe.
Caroline's friends are like, they're again, like, they're not friends.
No.
Like, they treat Caroline so poorly. I mean, obviously she is so fucking drunk and everything like that. You know, when she's trying to get Jake's attention and stuff, and Jake is all like, no, you know, we're done, like, leave me alone, kind of thing. And like, she sits down and like he shuts the door on her, and now she can't move. Her hair is stuck in the door, and her friends are, one, wearing Jake's mother's mink coat
And fine jewelry.
and her jewelry, and like they they broke the the pearl necklace. They're laughing, and Caroline's all like, guys, come on, I need help, like I can't move. And they're all, they're picking up the pearls, and they're like, what's the problem? And she's like, I'm stuck, like I need your help. First of all, they could have totally, I don't think Jake locked his door. I didn't hear a lock click or anything like that, but they could have just easily opened the door.
They're hammered.
They didn't do
idiots.
that. They are so fucking trashed. They got the most huge fabric scissors and cut her hair.
Ooh.
And oh gosh. Oh my God. Like,
what the? It's so brutal.
It's terrible. These kids are just hammered. And nobody is helping the situation. And I just have to finish off with the best destruction of the house was when Long Duck and his super strong girlfriend are lifting weights for some reason in the gym upstairs, and they accidentally drop a weight, and it goes through the top floor, down through the middle floor into the basement. So it creates, and it like breaks their wine cellar. So this house is literally being destroyed through like the floorboards and everything. And I was like, yo, this house is, where are these parents? Where is your mother right now? And so that's our party. Jake's house is destroyed. Cut to Sam is at her parents' house. She is sleeping. Her dad walks downstairs in his bathrobe. It's the middle of the night. He can't sleep, and he walks down.
Finally remembers that it's Sam's
Yep,
birthday.
he goes, I feel like such a jerk right now. I totally forgot. And Sam, and good on Sam for being like, it's okay. Like, I know a lot of stuff is going on, whatever. And he's like, no, I really am sorry. Like, this is on me. We'll try to make it up to you, but this is our bad. And they kind of have, this is actually a little bit nice. They have a nice heart-to-heart where Sam expresses that she is going through the troubles of love, of unrequited love with Jake. And, her dad says like, hey, this is normal. This happens to everybody. And just remember though, but when you do meet the right guy, the nice guy,
Dad lays the law.
Yeah, exactly. When you do meet this nice person, don't and he hints at don't be like your sister who ends up with an asshole. You wear the pants in that relationship. You take charge.
Yeah, make sure the guy knows that you wear the pants.
Yeah,
in the family,
and I kind of like that because the dad notices with his eldest daughter that this is a huge mistake. This wedding that's having, this guy sucks. And Sam, I don't have to worry about you because you have a good head on your shoulders.
Well, also to be fair, going back to the girl talk that Sam and Jenny were having, Jenny was talking about, I had so many boyfriends until I met so-and-so, and he loved me for more than 6 months, and that's why I'm getting married. Like, you don't know. You don't marry somebody within 6 months. That is insane.
Yeah, don't do that. Put some time in, folks.
No.
In the membrane.
Absolutely. Cut back to the party. It's over. It's just Jake at the house. He comes across, he's looking around his house being like, I can't believe these kids destroyed my house.
Yeah, these fucking assholes.
He's sitting down on his couch looking at his glass table for a beer to drink when he notices an eyeball underneath his family glass table. And he's like, what the fuck? And he clears all the trash off. Coffee table, somehow he got trapped. Like somebody put him there. It's Farmer Ted is trapped underneath this glass table. And he's like, help me out, which is classic way to treat nerds. If you see a nerd, put him in a glass table. And that's when we see this great scene between Ted and Jake, where Farmer Ted, they're bonding.
They're bonding in the kitchen.
And this is the coolest thing.
Yeah, freaking Farmer Ted is being a bartender.
He's talking to Jake. He's like, hey man, I'm like kind of messed up about the Sam girl. I think I really like her. And Ted's like, dude, she's into you, man. Go for it. She's a great girl. And all while he's like consoling Jake, he's making this martini, and the way he's making it is actually very professional and grown up. Like, he looks like he knows how to make a cocktail, and it's so jarring to see a 15-year-old dweeby kid do this so casually. Farmer Ted is definitely cool as hell in the scene. And then another infamous scene happens. We come...
the deal
exchange. We come to... Jake has said, you know what? I think I am going to go for Sam. And Ted's like, that's great. But Jake is looking and he realizes Caroline is passed out drunk in his house still. And Jake looks to Ted and makes a deal, and he goes, hey, do you still have Sam's underpants? And Ted's like, yeah, I do. He goes, I'll tell you what, give me Sam's underpants so I can return them to her as a courtesy, and you can take Caroline home, who is a drunk, passed out girl. The implication when he says take her home is, hey, you can do whatever with her. Like, she's your...
Yeah, take my car.
Yeah, she's your property now.
Yeah.
And this is just... Yeah,
she won't know the difference.
She won't know the difference between you and me. The implication is like, you can hook up with her. It's fine. Remember, she's passed out from alcohol.
She's blitzed out of her mind.
And I will just say on this side note, I watched this movie with my wife. We were really excited to watch. You know, she's watching these with me, and we're having some fun with them. She told me, she's like, this is the part of the movie where she totally checked out. It is very It is very upsetting to see. I won't lie. I gotta laugh to keep from crying, folks. Jake lets...
No, seriously,
it was out of left field, and it was just like, oh no, these are like, they were having such good rapport, and you were like, these are okay guys. No, they're total scumbags. They suck. Jake allows Ted to use his dad's Rolls Royce, top down, immaculate, expensive car to take Caroline home. Ted is 15.
I wrote Ted panicking about driving a Rolls Royce. I don't blame him.
Like, this car is so expensive, and he doesn't know how to drive. He doesn't have a license.
Well, he doesn't have a license. He doesn't have a car, and so Ted is like asking Jake all these questions, like, Jake, how tall is your dad? And he's all like, he's about 6'1". He's all like,
good to know. And he's like this little kid, so he has to adjust all the car, and it's just, once again, drunk girl passed out. It is a
Caroline asking Jake who's Ted, and literally telling her that Ted is him and Jake is Ted and stuff. And she's like, oh, okay.
It's going to get worse, folks. As he's starting to drive, it's something reminded me. Caroline is acting erratic because she's hammered. She's throwing beer cans out the car. She's throwing liquor bottles at the car. And it's a reminder, it's good to be DD, but man, does driving drunk people suck. It's like, it's one of the worst. It's like so annoying, but it's good to do. If you're the DD, take care of your friends. Just bite the bullet sometimes and know that it's going to suck probably, but get everybody home safe. Okay. One of the worst parts of the film is Farmer Ted, as he's driving the car, he breaks the fourth wall and looks into the camera.
Oh,
and he's just basically, he's like,
I wrote that too.
I can't remember what he specifically says, but it's something along the...
I think he says this is about to get interesting or something.
Yeah, so
like
he
that.
looks at you with this drunk girl in the car. They're almost to where they need to be. And he's like, this is about to get interesting. And you're like, oh, I hate this so much. He takes the drunk, passed out girl to John Cusack's house with one of the other geeky friends. And they put on a photo shoot with this passed out girl where Farmer Ted is doing a spread of photos, just being like, oh, this is awesome. We're getting evidence.
Because he's not sure that people are going to believe
that he
him.
date raped a girl, by the way, which is...
And he's also... and he's also not sure that he really wants to, like, do things with her while she's completely blitzed. So it's like, this will be the next best thing. I can use these photos to pretend like we hung out in this cool car. And
exactly.
Whatever.
Yeah, so it's super weird.
Yeah.
Cut back to... It's the morning now. We're back at Sam's house. The mom realizes what is going on, and she realizes it was Sam's birthday yesterday and totally missed it. She tries to apologize and console Sam. one of my favorite scenes in the movie comes when the little shitty brother, remember, you guys forgot about the little shitty racist brother. The mom says, little brother guy, don't you have something to say to Sam? It was her birthday yesterday, and we totally forgot and screwed up. And he just looks at them, and he's just like, that is classic, and laughs his ass off at Sam and just walks away like a little shit.
Okay, so can I just say something about that little kid? And for all of my parents who are out there listening, guys, I know I have a bunch of listeners who are parents. I am not a parent, okay? I parent some cats, and they suck, okay? Number one. Number two, I am not a parent, so don't listen to this and take this as me being serious, because obviously if I was a real parent, it'd probably be different. I understand that gentle parenting, which is, I think, is a stupid term for it. They should just call it regular parenting, because that's what regular parenting should be. I understand that is not how you parent kids. This is what I'm about to say is not how you parent kids, and you shouldn't, and whatever. It doesn't work, okay? Spanking doesn't work. That stuff doesn't work. I completely agree. That being said, if I was that kid's mom, I'd slap the shit out of him. I would slap the shit out of that kid up and down the street, up and down the house.
Kid.
And he's grounded. He's grounded until he's 50. I don't give a fuck. If that kid had a mouth like that and treated his siblings like that and treated me like that, I'd slap the shit out of him. I'd be like, boy, you come off the ground, I'll hit you so fucking hard. I'll put you to the street. Oh my God, that kid was the fucking worst.
Yeah.
He was literally the worst character.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Oh my God. And he only had like 5 minutes of screen time. Oh man.
Totally.
Anyways, go ahead.
He's just an asshole. All right, and now we kind of come into one of our final acts of the movie. It is officially time for the wedding. It is the day of the wedding, the day after Sam's birthday. Cue in awesome David Bowie song, Young Americans, he was a young American all night. All right. We see the donger is passed out, hammered on the family front yard. He is wasted as everybody's getting ready for the wedding. They're like, where is Long Dong? Where is he? And they see him on the grandparents discover that he has totaled their car from the night previous. He is drunk, hammered. He's acting kind of goofy. And the grandma kicks him in the stomach, which I was like, oh, just a reminder that y'all are shitty white people. Thank you very much. We also cut to in front of the church. Caroline and Farmer Ted are passed out in the Rolls-Royce car that he had brought Caroline. He was supposed to bring her home. I guess they made it to the church parking lot for some random reason. It doesn't make sense. Caroline wakes up Farmer Ted and says along the lines of like, hey, I think we had sex last night. And she ends up kind of saying like, she thinks she enjoyed it, even though neither of them remember it, which was that was jarring and it felt gross and weird. And I think the insinuation is now that Caroline, like, I think loves Farmer Ted after essentially he took advantage of her, which is just the worst. I hate that.
I will say this. I was a little bit more relieved. This is going to sound really bad. Both implications are bad. Both situations are bad. I'm just glad that they both were wasted. It seemed like, because it implied that after they took all the pictures and stuff, that they kept driving, just kept partying and getting fucked up, and so they both ended up getting so wasted to the point where they, had a one night stand with each other, and he doesn't remember. They both don't remember it, like King said. I think that's slightly better than him being completely sober and then taking advantage of her. It's not better by much, maybe by 0.00001%.
Yeah.
Because that's also bad, because that means neither party could consent. But yeah, it's jarring, like King said. It's still really bad.
It's not great. We see Jake pull into the parking lot eventually because the donger had told him that Sam is at this wedding. Jake and Carolyn kind of say, oh, I think our relationship is over. This is for the best. Cut 2. We are in the bridal suite at the church. We see Sam's older sister is super high on painkillers. Apparently she...
Yeah, because she has her
she
period.
had her period. And she was having severe cramps. And so some genius was like, oh, well, let's give her a painkiller. And she took 4. So she is...
Well, it wasn't a painkiller. It was more of a muscle relaxer.
Yeah. That's what I mean. So, but it's some form of opiate, I assume.
Instead of her just taking one of them, she took fucking 4.
Yeah.
And like the mom was all like, oh yeah, you know, the monthly bill came and everything like that. And so we gave her one muscle relaxer, and Jenny was all like, try 4. And her mom just like turned to her and was all like, you fucking didn't. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah, so now the sister is doped out of her mind. She can barely stand. She's not coherent. She's drugged out, man. She's not there. This is when I realized, I'm like, the parents really need to call this wedding off. But no, the dad said, I spent $7,000 on this wedding in 1984 money. So that's a shit ton of money, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I note that this whole next scene at the wedding, it doesn't fit the movie. It's so weird because it's just a focus on the sister. The dad has to basically drag the older sister down the aisle because she's so doped out. She can't consent to being married. She can't talk. She can barely stand. And then just a fun cameo, by the way. I gotta look up somebody can look up this lady's name. There is this little lady in the church who plays the organ. And she is the little lady
Zelda Rubinstein.
Yes, thank you for that. Zelda Rubinstein.
Yeah,
she is
she's
in
amazing.
the movie Poltergeist, and she's the one that says, "This house is clean." So fun, just random cameo
Yeah.
from that lady.
She's also in my favorite 80s teen movie, Teen Witch. So she plays Madame Serena.
Hell yeah. So
in Teen
80s
Witch.
icon, just a little lady
Yeah.
kicking ass.
Yeah.
The wedding is now over. Everybody is starting to file out. Sam's older sister has to be dragged by her new husband into the marriage car that you always see in movies at the end. Everyone's heading to the reception, and that's when we see people are starting to clear out. Sam is sad because she's just like, what a fucking weird joke. My life is just like a mess right now. And who is there to cheer her up and pick her up and give her a ride? Why, it's Jake. It's like the parting of the seas. And it's just this beautiful young man coming out, and he's there for her, and she's shocked that Jake is there. And they start talking, and he's like, well, why don't you come, why don't I give you a ride somewhere? Let's go hang out. And she's like, oh, I have to go to my sister's shitty reception. And this is another cool dad moment. I don't know if you guys picked up on this. Sam's like, you know what, fuck it, I'm not going to the rehearsal. And as she's walking to the car, she sees her and her dad have this like moment where they're looking across each other across the street, and Sam says, this is the boy I liked that I told you about. She's mouthing it, and the dad, instead of being an asshole being like, yo, get in the car, we have to go to this reception that I paid money for, I think to make up for that he forgot Sam's birthday, the dad was like, you go off and have a good time with the guy you like, and this is me, like, this is your gift. Like, you don't have to come to the family bullshit. You get to go have a good time. Good dude mood. Good dude move right there. I love that. And finally, cut to our final scene. It is Sam and Jake sitting over a glass table at someone's house. There is a cake with...
I'm assuming it's
That's what I
his
think,
house.
too. It is a cake with 16 lit candles on it. This is an iconic scene. You can see posters of it, clips of it all over. And Jake wishes Sam finally a happy birthday. They both lean into a kiss, and that is the end of the movie. A great 80s song starts playing, and that is 16 Candles. I keep calling it Sweet 16. Yay! We got through it, guys. We got through the donger. We're an hour and a half in, and we got through one of our movies.
Yeah, so, I mean, to be honest with you, like, I don't... think it's bad that you summarized it, because here's my opinion on the movie. With all the offensive stuff aside, it's just not a good movie. Like, it's just the storyboard is all over the place.
Yeah.
Okay, there's randomly inserted shit. Like, people like want to talk about like how this is like the iconic whatever, and it's like, no, in my opinion, it's Breakfast Club or Pretty in Pink, like, or even Teen Wolf or Teen Witch, you know. But like this, and I understand it was John Hughes' directorial debut. It was his first like directing, writing, whatever. But like, not first writing, but first directing. It just was all over the place. There was weird inserted scenes that didn't need to be in there. I didn't really feel the need to see. I understand it was the 80s, okay, but like, I don't know how I really feel about seeing like a high schooler's boobs. I wasn't really a big fan of that. I know like the actress probably wasn't
45.
a teen. At least I hope she wasn't. Like, I'm trying to look it up right now to see if she was.
Yeah.
I don't think she was. But like, dude, like, you know, just it just was all over the place. I don't understand it. It was weird.
Do you have?
I don't know.
Because this is the section, Sam, that we always do. Does this movie hold up, or
Is it relevant?
does it hold up,
Yeah.
or is it outdated? And we love a score of any kind.
Offensive stuff aside, offensive stuff in, no, hell no. Offensive stuff aside, still no. It's not this like. I will say that it's important in the zeitgeist to know that this movie launched John Hughes and Molly Ringwald and Anthony Michael Hall forward, and even some other actors in it as well. I will give it credit there, because that's like, and again, I'm glad that it showed an Asian character that wasn't the stereotypical, you know, like, oh, good at math, good at Asian, quote unquote Asian things, whatever, you know. It was just this Asian kid coming to America, having a good time, doing what other kids are doing. I think that's cool. It literally was, everything else about it was just dumb. It was terrible. It was all over the place. Half the time I didn't understand what was happening. I did, but like, I didn't understand why it was happening at that moment. I was just like, what is the point of it? Like, what was the point of showing this? Totally. Why do they need to show this? There's, and that's also because this, right? There's just other high school movies in the 80s that came out in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s that have just done it so much better. So, you know, maybe it was one of those things where it's like 16 Candles walk so these movies could run kind of thing. That being said, I feel like I could cite other high school movies that came out around the same era that did it way better that other movies could run off of. And I would not be mad if, like, you know, if I were John Hughes, I would not put this on my resume. I'd be like, yeah, no, that was
John Hughes is dead.
No, it's fine.
I take it off my tombstone. I would definitely not add this one on my tombstone.
I would not add it on my tombstone. Yeah, like I just would not. I would not do that. Yeah.
And did we get a score already, Sam? I don't know if we said it out.
It's like, I don't know. I give it a 4 out of 10. I guess 4 candles out of 10. 4 out of 10. 4 candles out of 16.
Danny, what about you? Does this movie hold up? Is it outdated? And a quick score.
It is definitely not a good movie. It's not one of my favorite John Hughes films. Before we were recording, we were talking about it, and I told King, you know, I like Pretty in Pink a lot more than I do this movie. This movie is just a dumb slapstick film. It's very like it reminds me of like Animal House.
Yep.
A lot. Also, you know, low-key, after watching it as a 33-year-old versus me watching it when I was like 18 years old. I don't remember when I bought the DVD or got it as a gift. You know, I think younger me thought it was hilarious and also super biased because I was just obsessed with John Hughes films, and I wanted to watch all his work and stuff. So watching it now as a 33-year-old in the year 2023, there are a lot of problems in this movie. There is, obviously the racist remarks of, Long Duck Dong, and then there's the date rape scenario that's in it and everything. Yeah, all of those are like absolutely terrible. It is definitely not like relatable in any sort of way. I will say probably the only good thing about this movie is that it really put Ringwald and Hall on the map. In December 1984, Ringwald and Hall both won Young Artist Awards as Best Young Actress in a Motion Picture and Best Young Actor in a Motion Picture for their roles in the film, respectively, becoming the first and only juvenile performers in the history of the Young Artist Awards to win Best Leading Actress and Actor awards in the same film, a distinction the film still retains as of 2014. And also the movie is ranked number 8 on Entertainment Weekly's list of the 50 best high school movies. I wouldn't say it's number 8. I would say it's definitely probably like 49.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Now. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to watch it as like a stupid fun movie, then yeah, it's kind of entertaining, but it's definitely a really hot mess. So, for me, I'm gonna rate it like a 5 out of 10.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah. I'll keep it short because we got to get to our next movie, which is a little more.
Yeah, we got to get to the Breakfast Club.
I read this great article this week. My wife sent it to me. It is by Molly Ringwald. Came out in 2018 in The New Yorker. It's called What About the Breakfast Club? It is a retrospect of the work she did with John Hughes, talking about in the lens of the 21st century during the Me Too movement. She kind of equates this film. One thing she points out, and Danny, you just said it, this film is closer to Porky's and Animal House, more so than it is Breakfast Club. I mean, so they're a year apart, and these are movies from the 70s and early 80s. But it's more close to that. She still gives props to John Hughes for bringing a more realistic vision of high school that we've never seen before. The kids in the 70s and 80s were used to seeing high schools portrayed in after-school specials that were total bullshit. It just didn't hold up.
Yeah.
And this is like the first time we're seeing real teenager problems, senses of loneliness, of not being wanted or loved, all that kind of thing. She says a great quote about it, and I'll end with this and then my score. I'm a little embarrassed to say that it took even longer for me to fully comprehend the scene late in 16 Candles when the dreamboat Jake essentially trades his drunk girlfriend Caroline to the geek to satisfy the latter's sexual urges in return for Samantha's underwear. Thank you, Molly Ringwald. I will give this a 1 out of 5 long dongs.
Oh,
yep,
man.
This was a stinker. And with that, shall we roll on into Breakfast Club, Danny?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so Breakfast Club came out. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, let me grab this. Yeah, The Breakfast Club. Written, produced, and directed by, again, John Hughes, starring Emilio Estevez, Paul Gleason, Anthony Michael Hall, Judd Nelson, Molly Ringwald, and Ali Sheedy. The Brat Pack members is Emilio Estevez, Anthony Michael Hall, Judd Nelson, Molly Ringwald, and Ali Sheedy. This movie was released in Los Angeles of February 7th, 1985, and country, like statewide, February 15th, 1985. The movie runs a whopping 97 minutes. The budget for it was $1 million, and the box office was $51.5 million.
Damn.
Yeah, so quick summary. 5 high school students meet in Saturday detention and discover how they have a great deal more in common than they thought. They are total strangers with each other, and one is an athlete, one is a brain, one is like a shy loner goth, the one is a popular snob, and another one is a rebellious delinquent. So none of them have nothing in common at all. So the movie is pretty much kind of like it's definitely a coming of age story. It's definitely a lot more serious than John Hughes's 16 Candles. Absolutely, for sure. So some fun facts about it. John Hughes revealed that he shot The Breakfast Club and Ferris Bueller's Day Off concurrently to the same time and money. And also, Molly and Michael are the only cast members who were 16 while making the movie, while everyone else was at least 5 years older. John Hughes is also seen in the car picking up Brian at the end of the movie. He is uncredited for that. Yeah, first, before we get into like the summary and like the whole movie, the whole plot itself, what are our initial thoughts? When did we first see this movie? And all that jazz. So, Sam, do you want to go?
I haven't had sex in 4 years.
Classic.
That's all I have to say about this movie. No, dude. This one and Teen Witch are my favorite 80s high school movies. And Teen Witch is not considered a Brat Pack film, but maybe we'll review it for Halloween.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Yeah. I'm hot and you're not. I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna do that whole thing right now. Love that. Love Teen Witch. Dude, this movie's so good because the whole movie takes place at this school, with 80% of it taking place in the part of the school they're having detention in. So these 5 all had to come in on a Saturday, normal school, like during what they consider school hours, so for 8 hours, from 7 to 3 or whatever the fuck it is, and serve detention, and they have to write this fucking paper. And so they're all sitting up instead of sitting in a classroom, which they never explain why, which I don't really think it matters. Instead of sitting in a classroom, they put them in a library. Oh, no, they do explain. They do explain without saying it. It's because it's across from the principal's office. That's why. So he can
Right.
sit in his office and be close to it. Yeah, that's right. Never mind. But the setting of it is just so awesome, right? It was only a $1 million budget film. Okay, they didn't need much. Most of that budget went to obviously paying the actors and stuff, right? But like they also they filmed it in Maine North High School in Des Plaines, Illinois, and they filmed the exterior shots of a different high school, but the interior shots of Maine North High School, they lived. The actual library is too small to get everything and everyone in there. So they built a virtually identical one in the gym. And so that to me is just super cool. I always loved that fact. And apparently in 2015, when they were moving cabinets and changing new things to a new building, someone found a script of the first draft, first draft of the script
Wow.
in the library in one of the cabinets.
Wow.
So I thought that was hilarious. I wonder who took that home, or if they had to return it to, the writer or whatever. But
yeah.
return it to John Hughes, because obviously, like, you can't really.
Well,
just keep that
2015,
stuff.
they probably like gave it to John Hughes's frick.
His, like, whoever owns his estate.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
family
yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
Whoever owns his stuff.
Yeah.
But that's right. Yeah, obviously, because he passed away in 2009.
Yeah, 2015.
But yeah, I love this. I love this film. It like, it's something about, they did a coming of age film filmed in one spot. Okay, they didn't go to the party or try and talk to the crush they like in the hallway. It wasn't that kind of coming of age film. Things didn't happen outside of, like, it was all just with these 5 kids in this library. And all of the coming of age stuff that you would normally see on screen in other coming of age kinds of movies, high school movies, were talked about instead. It's almost like you were sat up in there in detention with them, listening to them and their stories. And each of them just, they don't hang out with each other. The only, like, people that you can kind of guess that kind of somewhat hang out with each other or run in the same circles is Andrew and Claire, which is Emilio Estevez and Molly Ringwald's characters, because he's on the football team and she's,
well, he's
the
on the
popular
wrestling
girl, right?
team.
Wrestling team, yeah. And, but, like, I think he plays, it's like implied that he plays all sports pretty much, because obviously, football's in the beginning or whatever of the season. But, like, it's crazy. And these kids come together mostly by, well, I'll save that for later when we talk about it. But it's crazy, man. It's so well written. It's miles better. It's crazy how much better this film is than, like, I don't even know, some of the other
Compared
Brat
to
Pack
16
films, in my
Candles,
opinion.
yeah.
I mean, to 16 Candles, it's like, that's not even what are we even doing here? You know what I mean? It's just like, come on. But yeah, it's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It's so good.
What about you,
Heck
King?
yeah. Kind of like some. I have really fond memories of watching this in high school. This was one of my favorite movies in high school that I can remember. I watched it countless times as a 14 or 15-year-old, really thinking, like, oh my gosh, these characters are just like me, and oh my gosh, I want to just,
Dude,
you're like,
right?
I want to be, I want to be like Bender or this, and you're like, I'm probably actually Ali Sheedy or Michael Anthony. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I wanted to be like Bender.
Yeah,
Turns out I was
and let me say this. So, this
Definitely what
movie
happened.
meant a lot to me growing up. I watched it with a good friend of mine constantly. It was on rotation. I would watch it anytime it was on TV. Once again, I'm a music guy. I've said it a million times. This soundtrack is fantastic. I was just listening to it on Spotify the other day, and it's so much fun. So many great songs. This is where we get Simple Minds. Don't you forget about me.
Don't.
Yeah, and that whole song, go look up the history of that, because somebody else wrote that song, I think with the movie in mind, and it was offered to a bunch of different people, including Billy Idol, but somehow Simple Minds said yes to it, and this was like their hugest hit, one of the all-time great intro and outros of movies ever. There's iconic scenes with it. I'm excited to get into this, to talk with you guys, because I watched it this last week with my wife. Definitely better than some of the other movies we watched so far, but just watching it through through the current lens of time, there's a couple troubling things here and there that we can get into, and I don't want to grow up to be Bender anymore. And with that, Danny, I if you want to weigh in, please feel free. Other than that, I'm all set.
All right. Yeah, so the movie you hear the iconic theme song of this movie, don't you? But we're also introduced to the David Bowie quote that I said earlier of this recording and stuff. And then the quote breaks like glass and everything, and you hear Brian, who is played by Anthony Michael Hall, reading the letter that Principal Vernon made the students write in the beginning. So it's a voiceover, and it's pretty much saying, you know, like who do you think you are? Like, and he kind of describes like, yeah, you see us as like a brain, an athlete, a basket case, a princess, and a criminal. And that's kind of where we are met in the parking lot, and we are met with the main characters of the story. We see Claire, who is the princess, and talking to her dad, and is all like, I can't believe you can't get me out of this. You know, this is a Saturday and all that. And her dad is all like, well, honey, you know, you can't like ditch school to go shopping kind of thing. So here's your lunch. Have a good day, you know. And then we see Andrew, who is played by Emilio Estevez, talking with his dad, and was all like, you know, I screwed around when I was your age, you know, things happened, but, you know, you got caught, you know, blah, blah, blah. He leaves. We're met with Brian, and his mom is yelling at him like, you know, this is the first time and the last. You know, get in there and go study. And he's all like, we're not allowed to study. We're just supposed to sit there and do nothing. And, you know, she's all like, well, you better find a way to study, and, you know, all this kind of stuff. So, and then we see Allison, who she gets out of the car, tries to say hello or like goodbye to her parents, but they just drive off. And then we're also left lastly with John Bender, who is walking to the school by himself. So you kind of get the context of like all these characters and like how their parents are with them. You know, Brian's mom is a hard ass, and, you know, is kind of like the whole, you have to get A's no matter what. Andy's dad is all like, you know, you're an athlete, like you want to still be in the varsity team, you know, you have to like be a man. And obviously Claire she has daddy's money, all that kind of stuff. Dad rolls up in a BMW. So, and of course, Allison's parents, you know, are ignoring her. So she's kind of like a loner. And then, of course, Bender, you don't see his parents at all. So you kind of get the context of where these, like, on who these characters are. And you can obviously tell that they're very different from one another. So, and then that's kind of when we are met with Vice Principal Richard Vernon, who is played by Paul Gleason.
Ooh, can I say too,
So
when he enters, I wrote down the principal is kind of hot. He's just got that set.
Paul Gleason, I mean, you know,
He looks like he fucks.
he was a looker. He was definitely a looker back in the day.
Yeah,
I will say.
Strong jaw,
So-
powerful looking chest, and he's got a big popped open collar, and you're like, yeah, this guy, I get that. Yeah, this guy look good looking guy.
Well, I mean, also when Principal Vernon comes in the library, like you can right off the bat, you can already tell that he's a real hard ass.
Oh yeah.
Like you can tell that he is going to like give these kids
Hell.
like what am I trying to say? Like he's not gonna like go easy on them kind of thing. So you can tell that he kind of has a bad reputation amongst the students. Like he's one of those types of
100%.
people. So, but yeah, so, he explains to them that there's no talking, they can't move their seats, no sleeping, and they're going to be released at 4:00, that afternoon. But he also assigns them to write a 1,000-word essay, in which each must describe who they think they are. So, and he leaves, and he returns, occasionally to check up on them, and verbally reprimanding them as well. Some of my favorite lines are whenever Vernon comes back and like him and Bender just go at it with each other and stuff. What did I put? Oh, I put Bender tampering with the library door and Vernon trying to keep the door open is so hilarious.
That was so great. He pulls
like,
one of the safety pins out of the door so he can't stay open.
With the yeah. So, and like, oh gosh, it's like insane. And of course, like the famous line before the library door is, "Don't mess with the bull, young man. You'll get the horns."
Classic.
Like such a classic line. Also, another favorite line of mine is from John Bender when Vernon asks, like, does anyone have any questions? And John goes, yeah, I have a question. Does Barry Manilow know that you raided the wardrobe?
I wrote that one down too. It's just, man, what a dickhead to authority. You gotta that's some good ass, like, just good ass funny content.
Yeah. I mean, he's also a real dick to Andy.
Yeah.
Like, number one, he's snapping his fingers at him. Like, get over here. You need to help me. Like, and he's moving like the magazine stand thing and stuff. And like, Bender also says, oh yeah, that's real smart. But what happens if there's a fire? Like, this is, you're causing, an exit to be non-accessible for us young students and stuff. And then that's when he looks at Andrew and was all like, what are you doing? Like, get out of there. Like, you're useless kind of thing. He's just like literally just bombarding him and just literally belittling him and stuff. I love it when Andy like flips him off nonchalantly when he's like adjusting himself and he like flips him off and everything, but he doesn't notice, of course. And then of course, like Bender lip syncing as like quoting Vernon when he says, I'm cracking skulls. Like, that moment is like, that Bender has been here numerous of times and he has said that so many times, like repeatedly.
Subtle character building.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
What else? Oh, just super. I mean, Bender, he like ignores the rules. He spends most of the time during the movie just like harassing everybody, mainly Claire, Brian, and Andrew. And completely having a hostile relationship with the principal. John defiling talks back and insults Vernon, which results John in receiving like 8 more weekends worth of additional detention.
I got you for 2 months.
Yeah. Jeez, that whole scene.
Yeah, just brutal. I mean, just like disrespect on both ends. Just, this is not how you teach. This is not how you treat a teacher. They just hate each other. And that epic when after the 2 months, the whole fight goes down and he leaves, and then Bender screams, and they put this weird echo effect.
Oh,
he's like,
fuck you!
Fuck you! And it's just the effect on it is so brutal. And even like Vernon outside, he's just like, he's like shook like, by it too, right? Because he's just like, I don't even know like what to do here anymore. I'm like, it's just that bad.
Yeah.
Like, I just gave this kid 2 months of detention and just did this with him. Like, what am I gonna do? Go back in there and do more? Like,
yeah.
He's just gonna keep doing it. Yeah, he doesn't fucking care. And it kind of gets revisited later in the film when he's talking to the janitor, but like he's kind of like, these kids aren't the same as like when we were kids, and it's like they got no respect for authority. And then the janitor's like, dude, the kids haven't changed.
Yep.
It's us that
Yep.
have changed.
Yes.
Like
Carl,
things are
Carl
different.
The janitor,
It's different.
who's like the wise
Yeah.
philosophical character of the movie.
Yeah. It's true, and it's something that predicted what life was going to be like for us later.
Yep.
You know what I mean? These kids now, these kids in Gen Z and the iGen and all that, whatever, man, they hit different. They just build different. You know what I mean? Like, and they're not bad or worse or better or worse than our generation was, but you know, they kind of just coming into the world knowing, which is nice, because a lot of what these kids learn in the Breakfast Club and what we learned growing up, you know, we struggled.
100%.
You know, it took me 20 some years to understand that I had a paper thin understanding of the world. It took me 25 years of struggling, knowing what being queer was, being trans was, being Asian, being Mexican. You know, knowing what certain things are, and knowing what how to make a bank account, things like that. You know what I mean? Like, these kids can get on the internet and find all that stuff out, and we didn't have that. It's different, you know. They can kind of come into the world knowing, and it's really nice. And then it's kind of like, you know, is it up to the principal and the parents and the school to make it better for these kids than we had it? Like, just because you had it bad, you have to make these kids suffer worse? Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like one of those things. It's like, what's the point? You know what I mean? Why are you being so hard on these kids? And it's kind of like it's like the one moment you see the principal kind of not break down, but kind of like he kind of shows a little bit of why he's maybe feeling the way he's feeling, or why he's so angry towards these kids. I don't know. It was kind of a weird moment, but it was cool. It kind of tied the movie together. It kind of tied the characters together. You know what I mean? In a weird way. And it's like, maybe I do relate to these kids more than I think I do, and I hate that. You know what I mean? Because, like, we can always relate to, like, you know, oh, man, I'm starting to sound like my mom, or, oh, I was saying the same shit back then. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you'll hear fucking Nick. You know what I mean? Like, he'll pretend to be like this big boomer, like, oh, whatever, back in the day we had this, whatever, this shit. It's like, dude, your parents and my parents were saying the same shit about us, dude. When we were playing Magic the Gathering, you know what I mean? They were probably like, what are these kids doing? It's like, dude, y'all were playing Dungeons and Dragons back then. Shut the fuck up. Like, you know what I mean? It's the same shit. Don't even come at me like that, you know? It's fucking weird, man. That's kind of one of the reasons I love this movie. Is because, like what King said earlier, even though it was a different time for us, we related to the kids in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, as kids, we related to them. And even as adults now, you know what I mean? I still relate to the kids. Like, that's... I think this movie is like a reminder. It becomes a reminder for... You're not getting old. They're just... The kids that are being born nowadays are just getting smarter or finding a different and better way to do it, and that makes you mad. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, like... Yeah, this one's great. Sorry, I kind of halted the whole thing
No,
there. But like,
you're
yeah,
good.
you know
You're
what I mean?
good.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole premise with this movie, I mean, it's just the kids just... There's not a lot going on as much as... Like, it's not very crazy. This movie plays out more of like a play versus like how 16 Candles was.
Oh, God, that's like the best way to put it. It absolutely does.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
it absolutely does play like that.
They're just in one room, you know, maybe like a couple scenes where, especially when they sneak out to go to John Bender's locker to grab his weed stash.
Oh, such an iconic scene, that song.
Like, the absolute most iconic segment ever of the entire film is when they're trying to, like, not make sure that Vernon catches them while they're outside of the library and stuff. So possibly one of my all-time favorite scenes, especially when they're running away, and Andy, like they like come into like a disagreement, and John was all like, no, we gotta go this way, and Andy's all like, no, like we're done listening to you, we gotta go this way. So everyone follows Andy, and then that's kind of when like they get to like a dead end where like the gate is locked and everything. And so and John pretty much is all like, you know, everyone's all like, we're screwed, and John's like, no, just me, like I'll take the hit. And he puts his stash in Brian's underwear, in Brian's pants. And, you know, he does the whole, like, I want to be an airborne ranger. Like, I'm sorry, I've seen this movie so many times that I can literally quote a lot of things.
Yeah. Try now.
Oh, that's so good.
Scottish.
And Danny, just to highlight your favorite scene in the movie when they're running away originally, that song is Fire in the Twilight by Wang Chung. Wang Chung. Go listen on Spotify. Fire in the Twilight. It's so catchy and good. I love that song.
Yeah, so that's kind of when Vernon escorts Bender back to the library to grab his stuff to take him to the closet. And he pretty much locks him up in the closet. And this is kind of where the movie really takes a lot of serious turns and almost kind of scary for that matter, because like here we have an adult and a teenager in a closet, and literally Vernon is just belittling Bender. Like, no one is going to give a shit about you. No one is going to believe you, whatever you say. Like, everyone loves me here. This and that and the third. He even, at some point, Vernon says, you know, oh, you're like a big tough guy, so you want to fight? Like, I want to show how, like, I want to see how tough you are. So he like takes off his jacket and he's like, come on, just hit me right here. Just one swing, that's all I need. And like, you can even see the fear in Bender's eyes. Like, this guy is fucking crazy. Like, I may be like a problem kid, but like, this is on a whole other level.
When he says, oh, you gonna cry? You gonna cry about it? You're like, God damn, dude, I'm gonna cry at home right now.
Yeah, that scene was pretty intense. Oh, I forgot to mention them like during lunchtime and stuff. I forgot to say this. Like, their lunches, okay, number one, freaking Claire's lunch is
the bento,
sushi.
Like, it's like a bento box.
4 hours.
Yeah, it's like
4 freaking hours. That shit's not refrigerated. Also, Andy's lunch is super weird. Like, I do not want to drink that half gallon of milk because it was just sitting room temperatured for 4 hours. Oh, it's terrible
because Andy's the state champion wrestler, and the joke is he has to consume like 5,000 calories. So he's got like 3 sandwiches, a bag of chips, a bag of cookies, a whole gallon of milk, all this
banana,
crazy
an
stuff,
apple.
and they're just all staring at him, and he's like, "What?"
Okay, who has tried Allison's sandwich?
I
have.
I was disturbed. I'm always disturbed
like,
when I see this scene. Please, Sam, explain Ali Sheedy's sandwich, like her lunch for this scene.
First of all, this is one of my favorite scenes. Second of all, everyone has their own lunch except for John Bender because he's an idiot. And then they go to the vending machines and get Cokes for everyone. Her lunch is a pimento loaf sandwich with a slice of cheese and then what I believe to be mayo. And so she has a little Ziploc bag of Captain Crunch.
Yep.
And Pixie Sticks. She pulls the pimento loaf and the cheese out of the sandwich.
No, I think I saw the
Captain
cheese
Crunch.
on there. I think the cheese was still on there. Or unless it was mayo. I don't know. The mayo looked kind of thick. It looked like cheese to me.
Yeah, it's mayo. It's mayo. So she pulls them out and throws them. And so she puts the Captain Crunch. Then she dumps Pixie Sticks all over it. and then she crushes it and then eats it. And it's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like it's, yeah. Now I'll tell you this. Next time I eat that, I probably, when I've made it for breakfast afterwards, I just replace the mayo with peanut butter, and it's delicious. So well, the way I make it now is, so here's what I do.
Ooh.
I use Cinnamon Toast Crunch, peanut butter, and I throw a tiny bit more of cinnamon sugar on there, or just
good.
regular cinnamon.
Oh, I like that.
And I eat it. Yeah, I don't eat it all the time, obviously, because it's really sugary.
You're like, I'm in my 30s. I'm not a baby.
Yeah. But also at the same time, like, I'm an adult and I can do whatever the fuck I want.
This is true.
Including make ridiculous cereal sandwiches. But like, it's a great way to eat cereal if you can't eat milk. Okay. And it's just really fun to eat. It's just you're eating a crunchy sandwich. And it's one of my favorite sandwiches ever. And Allison is my favorite character in the movie. So I'm like, I have to try to eat this. So when I was a kid and I watched that movie, I ate it. And I just wanted to, we were at a friend's house. They had bread. I was like, let me eat this sandwich. And that's just how it went down.
That's so
funny.
funny.
Really funny. And they thought I was gross. It was a little gross, not going to lie, but the sugar helped. But like, like, just do it with peanut butter, man. Just do it with peanut butter
mayonnaise.
And Pixie Sticks.
Which I would never
Skip the
say
mayonnaise.
on
It's really
any
good.
circumstance, but this sandwich I say skip the mayonnaise.
Yeah. Skip the, yeah. Hold the mayo. Fern Mayo. Hold the mayo. That's Jawbreaker, one of my favorite teen movies. Anyways, go ahead.
Also another like probably famous scene that I really like is when Bender is kind of like making fun of Brian's household, and then, he starts to reenact his household, like how his life is at his house and stuff. Like this whole film is like it is not a happy-go-lucky teen film. This is a for sure, like, this is what real life is like. This is how people do have these kind of lives, like, so, yeah, that's probably one of my most iconic famous scenes because, Andy, he's all like, oh, you're a sack of shit. Like, there's no way that's your, that's how like your dad reacts and stuff like that. And Bender, is all like, you don't believe me, and like he like reveals a cigar burn that happened on his arm. And that's kind of when he really gets like some trauma and like just automatically reacts, and like he freaking like climbs he climbs onto like that book thing and just gets up on like a balcony where stairs are just to kind of like cool himself off.
Yeah, because he's just so emotional.
Yeah, because he triggered himself talking about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Another famous scene. So now we're fast forwarding to like Bender being locked into the closet. So he needs to get back to the library. So another famous scene is when Bender is in the ceiling. Yep. And this is my all-time favorite scene in the entire movie is Bender is telling a joke. Now, he never finishes the joke because he ends up falling through the ceiling. But I found the rest of the joke on Reddit, and I wanna read it. So it goes, a naked blonde walks into a bar carrying a poodle under one arm and a 6-foot salami under the other. Bartender says, so I don't suppose you'd be needing a drink. The blonde says, I definitely do after what just happened to me. The bartender says, I'm so sorry, what happened? The blonde says, well, my boyfriend and I were about to make love when out of nowhere, the crazy bastard says, I'm going to pound my favorite bitch with my giant sausage. So I grabbed both of them and got the hell out of there.
That's so fucking funny.
Yeah. I ever since, for as many times as I've watched this movie, I never knew what the rest of the joke was.
No, neither did I. So I'm glad you found that. Because he falls
Yeah,
through
so
the
I found it
ceiling
up on-
before he can finish the joke.
Yeah, because after it's pretty much when after he says the bartender says, so I suppose you don't be needed a drink, and the blonde says, and that's kind of when he goes, oh shit, and he like falls down from the ceiling.
He makes a ruckus.
So he does.
And the principal comes in and he goes, "What was that ruckus?" And all the other students are like, we don't know what you mean, sir. What can you describe the ruckus?" And he goes, He's like, you know what I mean? It was a ruckus. And it's just like, okay, if somebody says ruckus one more time, I'm going to drink a whole beer just right now. I'm just going to do it.
I'm just going to drink a beer. And Bender's hiding underneath the desk where Claire is sitting, and he sees up her skirt.
Yeah,
and
that's another famous scene. He like sticks his head up there, and she closes her legs on his ears. And they're just all, the point is they're all just covering for Bender. Which it's such an interesting aspect of the film. Like they're all, by this point, they're all cruel to each other. They look down on one another. They don't respect one another. They say terrible things to each other. Especially John Bender says horrible things to everyone, but they're still willing to cover. Oh yeah,
he is like literally harassing all of them. Yeah,
but they still cover for Bender when he could get in trouble, because that's how much they dislike authority. They dislike adults because they're all coming from situations where they've been hurt in different ways, emotionally, physically, what have you, by adults. And so they just don't trust any of them. So they're like, we hate Bender, but we're not going to sell him to adults. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
Right.
And now it's time to get high.
And of course, the most iconic scene is when everybody gets high, and then you just see frickin' Brian. Chicks cannot hold their smoke.
Chicks cannot hold their smoke, okay? And Claire, I wrote this down. Claire is like, I'm so popular.
Oh, I completely forgot. So the most random freaking line, Neo Maxi Zoom Dweeby.
Yeah, that was weird. I wrote that down. Yeah,
I just love that.
So many iconic weird lines in this movie.
Yeah, they get high, and then you see like Andy, he kind of goes off by himself, and he's like in like one of the rooms up on the second floor and everything, and like he does Emilio does his famous like dance practically around, and then he goes back into the room that he was like hotboxing, and like he screams, and the
glass shatters.
Door shatters.
That's a good, look that up on YouTube. That's a classic scene.
Gosh, this movie is so
and I
good.
noticed this, it's funny. So they're all getting high, and I think the idea is like they're all under the influence of something, which kind of levels the playing fields for all of them. So now their connection is they're all fucked up, and the gang starts to get a little bit closer and open up to each other. Yeah,
they start to do some real talk. They kind of like there's one group where it's Andy and Brian, and they're talking, and then Allison comes in and was all like, yeah, your middle name is Ralph, as in puke. And that's kind of when Allison literally dumps her entire bag, and this is kind of where Allison really starts to kind of talk throughout this whole movie and everything. So and then you have Claire and Bender, and like they're going through their stuff. Like Bender showed Claire the pictures, and Claire was all like, oh, are any of these your girlfriends? And he's all like, some of them, and she goes, well, are they your girlfriends, or and he's all like, well, some of them are, but some of them I just consider. So like you can definitely tell like their personalities, and they're just like so many different worlds and everything. And like Bender is even going through Claire's makeup and everything, and he uses the freaking brow brush to like brush his teeth.
Oh my god.
Just like,
yeah,
what the
they're
fuck?
all just starting to do a little bit of bonding, which is Kind of cute. It's
Yeah,
kind of cute to see.
and then after all like those like separated kind of things, they all get together and they just start talking. And that's kind of where Andy opens up why he's in detention. And also they kind of like Brian also admits like what he did in detention. And then again, Bender is just harassing
He's
everybody.
such an asshole during this scene.
You know, Claire did like this trick with some lipstick because they were talking about like what everyone does, like what's their odd like niche or like what's their odd trick. And Claire can put lipstick without using her hands, and she pretty much puts it in between her boobs, and then that's when she can apply the lipstick. And everyone was clapping and stuff. And then Bender is over here all like, oh yeah, well that's, you know, typical prom queen, you know, you're just doing this for attention and stuff. So yeah, it really gets very, very brutal. A lot of, you know, back and forth, people who just talking shit about each other, and nobody's like saying sorry about like, yeah, you know, sorry I like said that to you. It was pretty
it's the
hurtful.
Opposite. Oh, remember when Bender says,
yeah,
they're like Claire's like saying some stuff back, and Bender's like, "Don't ever compare yourself to me." And I'm like, and it's funny because I'm like, wait, that's literally the main theme of the movie is that we're all going through stuff and we're all not that different. Like their uniting thing is they all don't trust adults. They've all been mistreated in different ways. And he's like, don't compare yourself to me. I'm like, no, Bender, that's the point of the movie.
yeah.
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to say is like my favorite part of the film. And just for spoiler Reno reasons, I don't want to say what each of them did.
Yeah, I almost want to leave that out because it is a good reveal. It's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Like get the big reveal.
Because this scene is what I consider to be the climax of the film.
Yes.
And so the whole entire time John is harassing these other four people throughout the movie, maybe not the best way to go about it, but he's actually the one bringing them together because he's trying to tell them that we're all going through something, and comparing in a condescending way is not going to help.
Yeah.
Like, and so at the end, before the last person to reveal what he did to get in detention is the nerd, the geek kid, Anthony Michael Hall's character. I forget his name already.
Brian.
Brian. Thank you. And before he reveals what he did, he's kind of saying like, "Hey, I consider you guys my friends. We've had a lot of fun so far."
Because he asked the question, you know, he's all like, "Yeah, so, you know, I know we're kind of like having a good time right now, but what's going to happen to us come Monday?"
And so Claire is like, "Yeah, no, we're not going to be."
Yeah, like our social statuses like are just going to go back to the same. Like I'm not going to talk to you. Andy's not going to talk to you. Like we're just going to go back to like how everything was before this.
And so Bender is the kind of person where he doesn't really care who he hangs out with. It doesn't matter to him. He would never go out of his way to like go and talk to some of these people, but like he wouldn't care if they wanted to hang out with him. So like he calls Claire a bitch, and he was like, "You know how shitty that is to do to somebody, and you're going to do it to Brian after everything we've been through today. After everything that I've tried to, like, expose to you guys with what I've done."
Yeah, but also Claire does make a point to Bender and was all like, you really think that your friends are going to, like,
us.
You know, accept Brian? Like, you're really going to, like, bring Brian over to, like, the bleachers to get high and stuff
Which
like
would be
that?
the coolest time ever, by the way.
Right.
Brian's the man.
Well, no, she says that, yes. But that's when he responds with, "You don't know my friends."
Yeah, that's true.
You don't know them. You certainly wouldn't condescend yourself to talk to my friends even. Because you and Andy are the kind of people in the groups that don't talk to people like us or Brian. So you wouldn't know that. So that's kind of like, in my opinion, that's one of the biggest highlights of the movie, is that John is, yes, he's harassing all of the other four terribly. Actually, Allison not so much, because she kind of keeps to herself. But like, if anything, he relates to her the most. But like, he is trying to expose their fakeness for what's really underneath, and what's really underneath is trauma from these adults that constantly inflict shit on these kids, and the principal inflicting shit on these kids. He's trying to get them to see that I am not your enemy and we are not enemies. It's something higher than us. It's something above us that says they are, because that says we're the problem just because they say it, and we're supposed to listen to them just because they're older and they're in this position of power or whatever. And that's like, and that, in my opinion, is the point of the movie. That's why it's one of my favorites.
And that scene concludes with Brian even saying he's like starting to cry because he's listening to this conversation. He says he's like, you guys say you would do this because this is the natural order of things, and he goes, but I wouldn't do that to you. I wouldn't ignore you. And he looks at Allison and he goes, would you do that to them? And Allison is like, well, I don't have any friends, but if I did, I wouldn't treat them that way. So like the weirdo and the dork.
She even said, Allison said, but if I did have any friends, I don't think they would be the type of people that wouldn't mind,
I wouldn't surround myself with people who would mind.
Like, it's the people who are like, ew, the weirdos, the goths, the freaks, they're like, no, where are the accepting good people? And that definitely hit with me. I was like, oh, Brian, I love you. I will be your friend, Brian. I would be proud to be your friend. Because, of course, once again, he has that great line, chicks don't know how to hold their weed, man.
No, it's chicks cannot hold their smoke. That's what it is.
And some good call on not revealing why they're in detention, but I got to give a shout out to Larry Lester's buns. And if you want to know more about that, you got to go watch the movie. Shout out to Larry Lester's buns. Shout out. This episode is dedicated to Larry Lester's buns. No, but that's where are we at now?
Yeah, well, we're pretty much coming to the end of the movie, and that's when they have their major dance sequence of them all dancing together and stuff. And then Bender sneaks back into the closet. Claire kind of asks Brian to write the essay for all of them. Because he probably is the most smartest and would probably, write the best essay out of all of them. So Brian goes ahead and says, all right, I'll write it. And then that's when we're left with Claire, Allison, and Andy. And Claire tells Allison to come with her. And that's when Allison gets like her physical makeover and
Girl
everything.
Which I hated, by the way.
Okay, so here's the thing with the makeover, all right? When I was a kid, I was like, why did she do that? That's like Allison is me, like I'm the goth girl. So, however, like I think like even everyone in the movie gets their kind of like redemption and everything. Allison's like redemption and learning more about herself is a more physical appearance. Like it's kind of you can still wear the goth clothes, but you don't always have to hide your face in front of your hair and stuff like that. So just like kind of more presenting herself that she is beautiful.
Ali Sheedy, by the way, is gorgeous in this film, and just in general, she's a beautiful person.
Yeah. So I would say I don't think the camisole was necessary. Even Ali Sheedy herself said, I didn't mind the transformation. However, I don't think Allison really, like, you could have just put like a boy's muscle tee on her,
totally.
or put whatever sweater, like just remove the black sweater or something like that. I don't think it was really necessary for her to have the pink camisole.
That seems weird. And
So, but it was just more of a physical kind of, instead of hiding, it was more of like, just Allison kind of feeling good about herself and just having like the bond with Claire, because Allison even said, why are you being so nice to me? And Claire goes, well, you're letting me.
Aww.
So, and it's just more of a, Allison being more true to herself and what she really wants. And because throughout her whole life, she has been ignored. So now someone is here being a friend to her and everything. So I feel like that's kind of what more of the meaning behind the physical transformation versus what everyone else got throughout their day in detention and stuff.
And they do have a cute moment where Andy and Allison, they've been talking to each other.
Oh,
and they
yeah.
get
I mean,
closer, and that's cute. I mean, they're a cute little couple.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with Claire and John. Like, excuse me, Claire goes to the closet, starts talking with him. So, excuse me. But yeah, so then now we're down to the pretty much the end of the movie, and the last scene in the movie, well, second to last scene, is Claire giving John her diamond earring and him putting it on, and then him walking away to go home. Fun fact about that diamond earring, you can see John Bender wearing that diamond earring throughout the movie.
Oh, cool.
There are some scenes where you can see
That's
the
funny.
diamond earring.
So it's just like oops, a slip up or whatever. That's funny.
Yeah.
I like that.
But yeah, that's the end of the movie.
Sick. I will say this, Danny, before we get final thoughts. Remember at the very beginning, the punishment for the school, the detention was you have to write 1,000-word essay individually on who you think you are. If you read the thing that Brian writes, it's a very nice sentiment of like, hey, how dare you tell us, describe who we think we are. It doesn't matter because you see us as these 5 categories of people. And, he writes it sincerely, The Breakfast Club. If you read it online, it's like 200 words at the most. And I'd be like, if I was the principal, I would have been like, yo, first off, this isn't even 1,000 words.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so funny. But yeah, the iconic John Bender leaves. And he throws his fist up in the air and "Don't you" starts playing. Probably the most iconic 80s scene and one of the most iconic film scenes ever. It was very cool way to end it.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. What are our final thoughts?
Totally.
Anybody?
I mean,
Bueller?
Yeah, somebody, Sam, dive in.
I already.
You're like, I love it.
think I said a lot of it. Yeah, it's kind of like for me personally, this is one of my favorites for all the reasons I said earlier. I mean, it's a coming of age without like fucking saying it. They don't like say it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you don't see anything. You know what I mean? They are able to tell you their coming of age woes purely from the stories that these 5 kids are telling each other to relate to each other. Because the more important part is like the relationship. It's the relating to each other part that they have to. That is the most iconic part, in my opinion. And so, like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's just so damn good.
You got a rating
so
for
damn
it?
good.
Do you think it's relatable? Do you think it's relatable to now?
Yeah. There's, I mean, if you watch it now and don't relate to it, I don't think it's necessarily anything you're doing wrong. Maybe it's just you just can't relate to it. Because I feel like most kids can relate to it, and us as adults remembering what we went through as kids can relate to it. And I hope there comes a time in the future where, a kid, 16, 17 years old, 15 years old, they watch it and don't relate to it. I hope there comes a time where that happens, because, whatever. But, like, I really hope so, because then that means they're not going through anything crazy and going through. But, like, also, like, being a kid, right, is tough. Growing up is tough. It's really fucking annoying, and you have to do it your whole fucking life. So,
Yeah.
Like, there's so much stuff I'm ignorant about still, right? And I'm still trying to learn. And, like, watching that movie even now makes me remember that it's, like, okay to still be trying to learn that stuff. Because this fucking Vernon guy and their parents made it seem like they were supposed to just know all of it right now. That's not fucking true.
Yeah.
You don't have to know all of it right now, especially not at 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. So that's why it's like one of my favorite movies. It's just, again, I don't know if that was John Hughes' intent, but for me, that's how it plays out. That's how it worked for me. So,
Nice.
What did you rate it? What's the rating?
It's, I feel like saying 10 out of 10 is like flawless, so I don't want to say that. Because, like, there's a few things in it that I think were kind of either out of place or weird. I don't know. I know the original cut is over 2 hours long. I know that. Yeah. But I don't know. I would say like 8.5, if not 9 out of 10
Nice.
for me.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's
Okay.
up.
What about you, King?
I started off by saying that I loved this film in high school. It meant a lot to me. And I think watching it as an adult, you just have a little bit of a different view on it. My one major critique is that I said before, I was like, I want to be like John Bender. He's so cool. And I watch it now and I kind of see it differently. He is such an asshole to them for so much of this movie. And he kind of ends up.
I mean, so sidebar. Judd Nelson was method acting.
Horrible.
He was acting. He was acting like Bender, and he was harassing.
Oh yeah,
everybody.
they hated Molly Ringwald and him hated each other during the filming of this movie, supposedly.
Yeah, because he kept picking on her and stuff, and there was a point where like some of the cast, the crew was all like, trying to, make sure that Hughes wasn't going to fire Nelson.
Yeah, Judd Nelson.
So
and everyone should at home should, and maybe we can do a deep dive in this later. During this time, they're all rising to superstardom and becoming global figures and
after this movie, like
megastars.
Everybody they just blew up, and this movie is kind of where the whole Brat Pack label came to play. Really. So, but anyway,
and
go
I'll
ahead,
just finish up with. So I really just like looked at that character differently. I did not like it. He ends up with Molly Ringwald without ever really being nice to her or anything. So that was just random. But I still think the main message that Sam talked about is really on point. And I bringing it back to Molly Ringwald in the New Yorker article I talked about before. The important question of like, why are these John Hughes films so iconic and important? And from Molly Ringwald, John's movies convey the anger and fear of isolation that adolescents feel, and seeing that others might feel the same way is a balm for the trauma that teenagers experience. I think that sums it up perfect for me, like why these movies are important, why people feel connected to them. I'm going to go ahead and give this movie a 3.5 Larry Lester's buns out of 5 stars. Go watch and figure out what I'm talking about with Larry Lester. So 7 out of 10. Killer soundtrack. Let's Wang Chung tonight. Everybody, we're Wang Chunging tonight, all right? Everybody hang chung
Everybody
tonight.
Wang Chung tonight. Everybody.
Yeah. And Danny, take us out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my final thought, this is my all-time favorite movie. I am completely biased. I love this movie with all my heart. I mean, like I said, I've seen this movie 1,000 times. I can recite, the movie. I mean, there was a point in time in my high school life where in my locker, I had practically all of my favorite quotes from the movie. I wrote them on like a piece of paper and I just had them hung in my locker. I also had a picture of Judd Nelson as John Bender, and I had Ali Sheedy hung up in my locker in high school. So yeah, like this is a super fun movie for me to watch all the time. And I also agree with Sam. It is a very relatable movie. I think kids today can absolutely relate to these characters, even though it is like a 46-year-old movie. It's it's 48 because it came out in 85. So it's 47. It's a 47-year-old movie. But the scenarios in it are still the same. Teens struggle with fitting in, trying to figure out who they are, which friends they want to hang out with, always wanting to make their parents proud. And of course, broken homes and everything like that. Like everybody's families are always going to be a struggle to deal with. Like life is just going to not be too nice to us. But also sidebar, I'd totally be friends with Allison and Brian, and I would most definitely have a crush on Bender if I was going to their school. So I have a thing for bad boys. So
I like it.
This is I am gonna bump the score down. I mean, I'm still biased. Like I said, this is my all-time favorite movie. I love this movie. But I will bump it down for a lot of, the controversies and the harassments that lead to these characters and stuff. So it's going to be like a 9.5 out of 10.
Let's go.
For me. So, but yeah, that's all, folks. And the next time you catch us doing our Brat Pack, the next two movies that we'll be doing is St. Elmo's Fire and Weird Science.
Let's go. Weird Science.
But yeah.
Weird Science, St. Elmo's Fire, and Pretty in Pink, all named after song titles. I don't know why. It's it's weird. It's weird, man.
Hey, I'm okay with that.
I dig it.
No, I'm
Good
okay with it too.
songs.
It's just calm down.
But thank you all very much for listening to us for practically almost 3 hours.
This is a doozy, but this is because these are the ones we wanted to talk about a lot.
Yeah. So, thank you so much, Sam, for joining us. I hope you can join us with more fun Brat Pack movies. But yeah, and
Fuck
also
you.
thank you, King, for joining in on the ride with me with this movie series.
Heck yeah.
So, but yeah. And we will see you guys later.
Later.
Bye.
Fuck you.
Don't you forget about me.
Don't
Forget
you?
about me.